is the one and only Rush Cthulhu. How you going, mate?
I'm going pretty good. Very excited as well, once again, to be back in casting, to get back to the Pro League, and we have a good matchup today as well.
Yeah, and we're really coming to that, the back end of the Pro League. Almost finished, just a couple of more matches to go before we send some teams to the APAC finals. That's what all these teams are looking for, those two spots from Australia and New Zealand up to the APAC finals. We already know that August is going to make it.
Yeah, August did a fantastic job so far throughout the whole Pro League, having only, I believe, only a single loss and make it 8 wins.
Yeah, it's been a really good performance for August, staying ahead, and I think a lot of people will be impressed to see them. They are the first ones to secure a land position, and having a look at the standings right now, you know, Fnatic are the next contender. I believe most people would be expecting Fnatic to be really taking a strong stance in the Pro League, and you can see the lead that they have over the next contender for those land spots.
Yeah, Mindfreak, I mean, yesterday they showed some good showcase of their skill. Managing to draw out a single map against Fnatic was a pretty good, I'd say, for their scale after losing Specca. So overall a decent performance. But the main showcase tonight would be, for me, is this struggle between the 4th and the 5th place on the leaderboard. Because Avant and Oddity, we've seen them struggle a little bit. Especially with Oddity, I'd say.
Yeah, and a little bit of an opportunity to potentially leapfrog all the way up over Mindfreak even and get up close to those land positions potentially, which is exciting, especially for Oddity, who have played, as you can see, 2 less matches than the rest of the guys. And so let's talk about those matches we'll be seeing tonight. Just 2 best-of-1s in this best-of-2 series. Oddity, Avant, and then the same thing again, Oddity, Avant will play on a separate map.
Yeah, and right now, both of those teams so far have a matching amount of skill. I mean, in regards to win to draw to a loss ratio, Oddity have a much brighter kind of picture at the moment. 2 wins, 4 draws, and then 2 losses. Whereas Avant sitting on 3 wins, 2 draws, and 5 losses. So it's either, it feels for them like they either win or they lose. There's barely kind of any middle ground.
So that's the track record. Let's take a look at the players themselves on these teams, starting with Oddity. They've had a recent roster change. No more Shabs. Vinny is now on the roster. He's been part of the team for a little while, but now he's, you know, got to step up into the big boy shoes.
Yeah, and I mean, there's plenty of shoes to step in for Vinny as well. And just overall, the whole roster has been, I'd say it was initially very experimental, having Todd transfer from ex-Atletico, who was an excellent fragger. And I feel that with Oddity, they have just the potential to blast through if they have their game all set up and ready.
One of the things I found interesting when talking to Vast and Godlegion on the Talking Siege podcast a little while ago was it was Godlegion's opinion that him and Todd have to pop off in order for the team to succeed, whereas it was Vast's opinion that it was actually the other players on the team who have to pull their weight, because Godlegion and Todd will consistently pull their weight. Yeah. So in Vast's eyes, it's just up to the supports to really step up and make it happen.
Yeah, I would have to agree on this one with Vast, because if Godlegion and Todd can pull off consistent frags, then it's just the rest of the team needing to, kind of pick the slack up and continue assisting. It's either the utility or frags, no matter what. But yeah, they definitely have all the potential that they need. They just need to continue emphasizing on it and keep training.
So if that's some insight into the Oddity playstyle, let's have a look at their opponents. Avant have been around for quite a while now, been through a couple of different names, but just last week, I think a bit of a disappointing experience against formerly known as Mindfreak. They're now called Ex Nihilo. It was a draw and then a loss. These guys also lost out a bit in the Summer Series, so a bit of a disappointing experience more recently for these guys.
Yeah, it was quite unfortunate the way how they lost a fair few matches, and the whole performance of Avant roster has been quite shaky in my opinion. Like, they have some good games. Case in point, Luna popping off amazingly against Orglas when they managed to get the big dub on Villa. And they have that potential, but it feels occasionally very untapped. It's either they, I don't know, sleeping on some of the games, or they not putting enough effort to it. Maybe they trying to play too casually on some of the games. It's just, you never know with that roster. But what I do know definitely is that they have all the tools in the shed to get the bread.
I really agree with you there. It's kind of like what I say about Fnatic sometimes. They're clearly a good team.
Yeah.
And but sometimes we see performances that just don't seem to demonstrate what they usually do or what we expect them to do. And I feel like Avant may be a little bit of the same boat. We've seen them play really well, good performances against teams such as Auglis, but also some flop moments for Avant.
Yeah, definitely there are plenty of flop moments for Avant, unfortunately. But I'm keen. I'm keen to see what both of those teams have prepared for today, and I'd say the outcome would be depending on the maps that we would see picked.
Well, let's have a look at the map ban veto then. Of course, we start with the 7 maps in the map pool. We get rid of 2 by default, and then each team bans out 1 at a time until we get on to the best of 1 that we will be seeing tonight.
So I'd say right now for Avant, they need to potentially maybe keep Villa alive, because they have some good experience, whereas a whole lot of teams within ANZ barely have any, or at least showed any experience on that map. So this could be their kind of, say, lifeline for that extra 3 points. Whereas for Oddity, they need to get rid of that, and I'd say they probably would need to get rid of something like Oregon.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit interesting for Oddity, I guess, because the performance that they had last week against Fnatic, where they drew 2 matches, it was Consulate and Villa. So Consulate's not going to be played, but Villa, a draw against Fnatic, like, that's pretty good. So maybe potentially they'll be willing to take Avant to Villa, even though Avant have a good track record on it beating Auglis. So I wonder, I think that'll be one of the later bans. So let's have a look at these as they start to come through. A bank taken off the board and Villa for Avant. So that's interesting. Okay. They're cautious of Oddity's more recent performance, and they just want to get rid of that out of the gate.
Okay, so that means that Avant might be playing a bit of a passive game, I'd say, because if they are cautious about how how Oddity will perform, they will be extra cautious about pretty much most of their plays. That is, on the second set of bans, I'd say Border and Oregon will be the ones. Well, at least I called the Oregon being banned. So Clubhouse will be the one to see, interestingly enough, the third Clubhouse that we're seeing throughout this week.
So last bit of insight into the bans there. Border from Oddity, interesting to see that Avant actually drew against Ex Nihilo last week on that map, on Border. I think Ex Nihilo have a pretty good Border, so it's just funny to see that it's not even a win from Avant that scares Oddity away from that map, but they get rid of it. They'd rather play Club or Oregon, and Club it's going to be. We saw a bit of that last night. We know how defender-sided that map is, and we know how much you have to rack up those wins on the defensive side because you feel much more comfortable. You don't have to make the first move, but on the attack, you really have to know how to take that initiative.
It just dictate the whole pace of the game, because otherwise, the moment you stall out, even for a slight little bit, that's it. That's your whole attack gone.
Yeah, well, I don't know, of these playstyles of these teams, do you feel like anyone in particular is going to favor the playstyle that you need to have on Clubhouse, that you need to be prepared to actually overtake these, go through the steps in your attack and put the rounds up on the attacking side? Because if you don't, then they'll slip away and you're stuck with just your defense wins.
I reckon Oddity might see a success on Clubhouse. I'm not too sure on the scoreline because both of those teams are very close to each other on the leaderboard, and same as with the points-wise. So right now, let's go with 7-4 in favor of Oddity.
You reckon? All right. So Oddity really, like, this is the
Actually,
thing.
no. Make it 7-5.
Okay, this is the thing for Oddity. They really want to start getting back up there. So a 3-point win out of this one. So obviously if they win the match, they'll take 3 points onto the ladder. That leapfrogs them above their nearby teams, which is
Avant and Mindfreak as well.
And I mean, let's Mindfreak, that's former Darksided. Those guys have been top 3 consistently for a very long time, and this is Oddity's chance to break that. But Avant, can they prevent Oddity from climbing their way up the ladder? Nomad is the first one banned by Avant themselves here on Clubhouse as we load into the ban phase. Good luck, have fun coming out in chat. Love to see it.
It's actually quite interesting because we did see a couple of Nomad plays before yesterday as well on Mindfreak versus Fnatic on Clubhouse, where Rizraz was using it occasionally. Like some of the plays were quite nice. Some of them were just a bit odd. And Blitz will be the second ban, which
yeah, sorry, I'm a bit distracted by the chat. There was T.Oddity is a missed opportunity, as in Toddity, which is, of course, the running meme that we've got. Goddity and Toddity. I love to see it. I'm sure we see some of those chants in chat. But yeah, as you were saying, Blitz, now that's not a ban you see every day, not anymore at least, but clearly Oddity are very cautious of the aggression that Avant can bring out with that Blitz, and I've seen some good performances in the past, so you know, it's nice to see that, to me, looks like a very team-based ban. And wow, okay, Avant getting rid of the Jaeger. This is something we see. It's so classic Avant. They did it just last week against Ex Nihilo on Border, and that's one of the things that really helped them rack up some of those wins on their attacking side and take it to a draw against their opponent.
The thing is, though, the Oddity roster can be fairly flexible, in my opinion. So the fact that Jaeger will be out, yeah, it's gonna be a hindrance because they won't be able to counter those grenades from Buck or from Ash or Hibana. But at the same time, they can still frag pretty well on other operators. There's plenty of the ops that have a very good firepower loadout, and I don't see why they will be losing. But Avant being on the defensive side, Church and Arsenal fairly standard, stock standard choice. But I'm curious how will Avant approach, because like you mentioned before, they are cautious about the choice, like the map plays, and how will Oddity play it out. So how will Avant approach the defense, and how far Oddity is ready to go to play aggressively?
I actually think, I mean, just based on this operator lineup on the defensive side is just really simple, flexible. These operators you can play in such a variety of positions. You've got good intel gathering, you've got, you know, denial, drone denial, and area denial, but what I'm saying from this is it's not like it indicates any really specific strategy, and I feel like we'll probably just see a turtle because of it. You know, this utility, the smokes, the C4 from the mute, the lesion mines, and the intel gathering, it's really good at just, you know, delaying some time, and then hiding in the site and taking these close range gunfights when they eventually do come down. But already have a lot of good utility to counter that kind of a hold due to the fact that they have 2 hard breaches ready and comfortable, plus that Thatcher to disable these mute jammers and the Maestro devices no less, plus all of this stun utility and the grenades on the Buck, which can dismantle any of these anchor positions that Avant decide to hold.
What is rather more interesting to me is how Oddity are approaching the first round, because they heard that there's some reinforcements, some setup upstairs. They see the open hatch as well, so they know that there's going to be some roaming play from above. So right now, for Todd, he needs to be very careful.
Yeah, and it's actually that roam game is extending out a little bit. If you see Luna getting closer and closer to that main stairs, Avant really keen to try and play into each other, and Fisher Guy, he was of course roaming upstairs with that mute to assist him. I feel like the play here for Avant has got to be to default back downstairs when you can, but it looks like Oddity are trying to make some progress on this push without fully clearing the roamers first. Now, this could work both ways. If they're not too cautious, Avant may well just come up behind them, take them out on this flank when they're too distracted with the bomb site.
I definitely feel that Oddity have made slightly an odd choice to decide to go straight away for breaching, but maybe there's a big plan, because right now there's 2 roamers upstairs and Valkyrie is just about to step on the toes of the Oddity players. Vast picking up the first kill of the day onto Flossie, so that is the Legion of the round. But Copper might find actually a kill very soon, as both of the roaming players are gone. From watching, God Legion picks up another one onto Luna. Now a 5v3, and oh boy, the Ash is not, no, he knives him. Oh my goodness.
That's both of the roamers cleared up now, and only one taken down as a result. Just Vicious now, he has 4 players to find. The ult is pretty good, but 2 drones on him now. Surely he can't survive for much longer. He's cautious in the angle into dirt, but Fast wins that gunfight. And Avant on that 2-man flank, completely unsuccessful. Oddity preoccupied with the bomb site, but clearly not too preoccupied. A very strong reaction gets them a win in the first round on attack.
I really think that choice to try to knife Ash was a very poorly timed.
Well, because he didn't actually know until he was jumping over the banister that there was an Ash there, and by the time he did that, he was thinking, oh, do I try and shoot, or do I go for the knife? And
I'd say go always for the shoot. Yeah. Like, even at this range, knowing, like, personally, I would never go for a knife, only if I would know that there would be no reaction whatsoever. And Ash just got off the drone, get a knife in the face, that's it, off you go. So, to me, it feels like a really bad misplay from Avant, but...
You know what I think would have been really helpful for Avant right there? If they'd actually had good intel onto the Oddity players on that flank, because they just use sound pretty much to know when to flank and where the players are the enemy players, where they use sound and they use communications from their teammates of where the Oddity players had been killing their teammates, but they didn't actually have a Valkyrie camera in that hallway to call out, okay, here's the player, we take out this one, then we move on to this one. Maybe if there was a Valkyrie, it was the Valkyrie camera over there, it was taken out, but I do think that that lack of information really hurt that flank, and Avant immediately losing some confidence in that downstairs bomb site, moving over to Cash in round number 2.
Definitely not a good start at all, because they had it in the bag initially. They had a good flank, they had a good idea, and like you said, they used all the sound as well to get all the information, and information was there. Like, the opportunity presented itself to them. But yeah, unfortunately, that was not the case for the first round. But maybe they'll have a better idea how to play it out. It does seem that they are going for a similar approach, having 2 roamers and then 3 people on the site. Interestingly enough, also, Maestro will be playing on a very falling back kind of position, and rather than sitting right in the middle of that catwalk.
We saw some pretty good roams downstairs in the garage just last night, but so far tonight, not sure whether Avant will make it as successful. Castle barricades, of course, being deployed upstairs, likely to cover some of these flanks, and that's the exterior wall on the east balcony being opened up. Presence inside a garage has actually been completely forfeited too. That's really surprising to see from Avant. Typically, you'll have your player inside a garage, typically a Maestro or an Airco, someone with an ACOG will play there for as long as possible.
Actually, I do think that you were actually quite right about the fact that Avant will be going in for a full-on turtle strategy. The way how they've been playing it out definitely feels like it, because the moment they see any like a slither of danger, they just fall back. And look at this, that gives they can harvest all that success and all that turtle.
Yeah, and look, it works pretty well. You can see a bit of damage also done onto Todd as well from much earlier in the round. This is really where you need to see the Buck leverage to dismantling these positions downstairs on that bomb site, and I believe that's how that damage was done to some of the Avant players. That's the thermite charge. Just get a little bit more of an angle into the CCTV room, and Todd downstairs. Like I said, he wants to leverage this verticality to his advantage, but he's very cautious of this flank. He's also very lit up. Even one bullet will take him down, but a good bit of team play from Vinny and Oddity together. Good caution downstairs, defends themselves against that flank as Copper is taken out downstairs. Just 40 seconds now. Things shaping up pretty nicely for Oddity.
Indeed, and just like that, Oddity already he's having a good amount of angles, but Flossie managing to take out Todd, so that is the Buck off the ground. And now Oddity have no control over downstairs, which could be crucial right now, because Avant having the man advantage, they should have all the needed possibility to start going. Nice shot as well for Vast onto Luna, but the plant will be going down at a very peculiar angle as well.
Oh, the garage cam's up as well. I don't know how Oddity were...
Vast, come on, man.
I don't know how they got away with this, because Avant has so much information this whole time, and yet there was nothing done to take out the Oddity players on that plant.
Look at that angle as well. Did you see how far that angle is? Straight from the construction area. Redolin picking up a nice kill onto Flossie. Vast is gone down. And Vinny,
look at this.
Straight from the construction side. The long angle is just too good. And attackers will be winning another round. Oddity just blazing through the defense.
That was a really nice plant spot as well. A good job from Oddity, having a lot of confidence in their players. I believe it was Vast on the Thatcher inside of Garage, covering very comfortably. And the fact that there was no vertical play, no smokes, as in, gas canisters, and no C4 to deny that plant, and the Maestro devices weren't in a position to do anything. Avant just had no kind of denial whatsoever. This is 2 straight attack rounds on Clubhouse, a map which is so very typically defender-sided. Makes you very, very worried about Avant moving forward in this map.
Yeah, it definitely would make you think about how would Avant need to improve on this one, because they defaulting back to Church and Arsenal, which probably is the best site to go for a turtle strategy.
I feel like, I agree with you there.
Yeah, and they brought in already a kite and mute, so that's either a double breach denial or a breach denial plus the drone denial, which they needed severely at the start on the first round, and they've dispensed those mute jammers at a very odd positioning to avoid getting drawn upstairs.
Yeah, I mean that's what they did last time. I don't know if you need to do it this time. Oddity barely even droned upstairs. Maybe that was because of the mute jammers, but oh, hello, that's 2 free drones. Come on, you can't. There you go. Vicious gets that one. Anyhow, speaking about the Avant lineup in general, you know, quite a lot of change. No Mel Valkyrie. It's the mute. The Pulse, which will be used to gather information, and no Maestro either.
Yeah, so this is a full-on turtle strategy, actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, they pretty much dispensed all of their utility all around the site. No more roaming, because that barely worked, and it's rather them having all of the angles going for them. That's exactly what you will want right now as a Avant player.
Yeah, just need to make sure that Vicious can provide that information to his teammates. One of the most important things on Clubhouse is knowing where the push will come from, because if it's main stairs, you need to be set up to defend against that. If it's from Moto, then you know you need to be prepared against that. And if you know that they're not coming from a direction, that's actually even more valuable, because you can completely ignore it and put your back to it. Now, oh, that's a bad Thatcher grenade. Doesn't get rid of the Kaid. Electric Claw, Vast probably cooled over a bit more now, and I do like this Kaid inside of dirt strategy. I believe one Electric Claw will in fact...
Oh, come
Vast,
on,
what are you doing, man? No, Vast!
Vast! No!
That's all 3 of your pieces of EMP utility, and that's just, all right, you didn't get a single Electric Claw. They were all placed statically, and that's that.
Oh, Vast.
And now you've been forward. Like, that's... Well, at least something's finally going right for Avant, but as much as I'd like to credit them for the good plays, already have made some mistakes in the meanwhile. You see, Redolent was attempting the Thermite charge, I believe, as a way to... Okay, here you go, is another Kaid charge on that Moto hatch, so that's not getting open.
And none of that will be opened up, and I think it's only the supply room hatch and the kitchen hatch are the ones that are going to be open, which still provides decent amount of angles.
And I wouldn't count too much on that kitchen hatch getting open too, because there's still a possibility for the impact trick from Flossie and Fisho, and of course Thermite's now dead, so Hibana... Wow, okay, that's not an angle you're supposed to win, Flossie, but he does anyway. Things seem to be slipping away for Oddity. A grenade kill, no Jaeger to contend with. That'll help out Todd a little bit, but he doesn't find a kill as of yet. He disables that default position, followed up by a flashbang. This is a good play for Todd, but oh, a nice shot as well. That'll help him out. Pulls the goo mine out of his foot that was slowing him down so much, but Fisher guy as well, holding fast for Avant. Just 2 players left for Oddity, but they're doing some good work. Todd is now, he needs to win this gunfight, doesn't land enough shots, and there is eventually taken down on the flank from above. Not watching those flanks, and Vicious cleans up Vinny. A good round through and through for Avant.
An excellent execution at the end. Very well emphasis on the mistakes that Oddity made, and I'm still amazed by all those missed Thatcher grenades. Like, that is just unfortunate.
Sometimes you gotta just take an extra second, rappel down, and put a Thatcher down. And like, I appreciate Vast after he missed the first one. Yeah, it's okay. I would probably do that too. You're like, hey, maybe I can throw it from here. You try it and it fails. Then you rappel down and you get the rest. And if you try a second time and it fails, then you're definitely rappelling down there. But he wasted all 3, and that was very disappointing to see. Now, finally, we are seeing Oddity decide to go for Maverick instead of the Hibana. Certainly, Maverick would have helped them out on that previous round. They wouldn't have had to worry about the Kaid charges, and also potentially opening up some of the hatches as well. So you can, of course, it takes 1 canister to make a nice little crouchable hole with Maverick, and about 2.5 to open up a hatch. So I would have liked to see that, but unfortunately it didn't happen.
Yeah, but with the things the way that they've been going, it actually also struck me, Maverick managed to slip through the ban phase, which before we saw so many times him getting banned out on Clubhouse, and he's so potent as well for these pushes, like opening up that one, the wall in CCTV, easy. You don't even need to bother about the kite device. You want to open up the crouch hold, like you said, easy, very quiet as well. He even with the suppressor on his assault rifle, he can score some very nasty kills and nasty flanks because he is a very stealthy operator as well.
Yeah, very difficult to play against a Maverick. Not a ton of ways that you can counterplay, as you guys might have realized. We do have a rehost, so Oddity will be out of the game for a minute. We're just going to fix up that issue, and we'll get back into the game shortly. But let's talk about that next round that we're coming into. It's a cash defense again. Last time it was pretty good for Oddity, pretty convincing. Essentially, the way I think about it is they didn't have to really expend that much effort onto taking control of Garage, because Garage, they droned it out and they walked in. It wasn't super fast, but they got in and they didn't lose any players. They didn't have to kill any players from Avant inside of there. And then after that, open up the walls, get a nice plant spot going, don't even need smoke coverage, and it was just Vast watching over the planter to prevent any kind of denial, and Avant didn't have C4s or smokes in a position to deny that.
I think for this one, if they are going to have a C4, they'll be able to easily deny that very same strat. But I think for a team of a caliber that Oddity is, I don't think they will be executing the same strat over again.
Yeah, well, they have the Maverick this time.
And they have a Maverick this time, correct. So for this one, I'd say they might actually try to go for a double push. So have, let's say, Maverick and somebody else playing on the east wall, and then the west wall getting completely blown to smithereens, and then have a kind of a two-flank push.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of ways you can push onto cash. Mostly what we see is the garage push coupled with that east balcony, but we do see master pushes occasionally. And logistic pushes and people who pressure the west side window a lot more. That's the one into CCTV opposite the balcony that you typically open. And you do have a lot of options with that Maverick, but the thing I'm expecting is probably, I don't know, continued, okay, I'll rephrase. What I would like to see from Avant is better denial, because that's what they didn't have at all last time. They might have, honestly, I feel like Avant just sat there and took it last round. Not the previous round we just saw, but the last time onto cash. They just really sat back and Oddity went for a plant. There was no C4 or smoke or any kind of denial. And yeah, I sound like I'm banging on the same point, but that's really the thing that was missing for me.
It looked like they just allowed, like, well, guess that's my life now.
Let's hold some angles. And maybe they weren't deploying any of that utility because they didn't have the information on the plant, in which case you need to bring some more information. But I actually know for a fact they had information because there was that Maestro camera.
There's a Maestro camera, there's a Valk. No, wait. Was that Valk? Yeah, that was Valk.
I can't remember on that particular round. But if you're going to trade out any of the operators on that side, I would get rid of the castle. I don't think it's doing much for you.
I'd oppose. Castle does have his use on the upstairs side. I'd rather probably would bring something along the lines of Pulse, maybe. Pulse instead of, say, a Mute. Because, yeah, already do go for a fair few drones, but if you trade out essentially a drone denial for your own information, a very flexible your own information, I'd say that's a plus.
Yeah, well, I think the information is something that Avant have been really playing into with the, in this round at least, that seems to be a priority with the Echo and the Maestro together.
Yeah, CCTV cash room will be once again the choice, and Kayed will be, I'd say Kayed could be the big stepping stone for the defense, because as soon as they are able to deny even like a couple seconds of the round and use up some of the utility, that is good. But now they have also the Echo as well for that very very much needed plan denial.
Yeah. The thing that I'm still missing is C4 or gas, and I would have liked to see them just whittle away some more time. But look, if we can see the Kayed do some damage, then maybe I'll feel a bit more confident, because at the moment I really don't see the value of a Kayed as much in this scenario with the current operator lineup on the defensive side. One of the great things about Kayed compared to a Bandit or a Mute is that you have that ACOG, you have that shotgun, but you already have two ACOGs on this lineup, and I can see a lot of long angles on this site that are useful. I don't know if there's enough for 3 operators to use effectively.
And we'll find that very soon, as Vinny will be the man to go for it, as decides to slightly just fall back a little bit. EMP will be used up to get a better of it. And, oh,
yep, that's it.
Yeah, there it is. There, it's all gone.
Successfully countered that Kaid. That's because, of course, he can't very effectively Kaid trick the thermite charges. I mean, even if he had thrown one down, it would have been taken out by that EMP before it had fully activated. The activation time on those electroclaws really does make it not a viable trick to counter onto those thermite charges. Oddity know that, and it works pretty swiftly. So Avant's utility really not solidly countering oddities.
Oh, Vast might actually have a very good drop onto Legion, but Legion decides to very promptly fall back to the side as the alibis might be a bit of a hindrance if the Oddity player won't be too careful. But oh, a nice peek from Flossie will be shutting down Vast's any potential for flanking around, and he will be returning to the garage to assist the Maestro to hold it down, as this will be a much swifter win within the firefight.
I really like what Avant are doing. They have mixed it up a bit. They're going to hold quite a lot downstairs. They have holes below the default plant spots, but I think that one of the things that will be essential is having holes below the plant spot that Oddity decided to use, because in the previous round they didn't go for that default plant spot. Now with Toddity himself inside, okay, Fisho with that pistol sniper finds one kill, nice, but Todd still downstairs. A lot of potential for damage, as he is a buck, has that verticality, still 2 frag grenades, and the Jaeger banned as well for it. I think that the projectiles will definitely be a target for Oddity. Pushing into the bomb site, Vinny finds 2, a big play for the Maverick. Still, he has to not overcommit to this, and takes out that Maestro camera as well with the Maverick device. Flossie finds himself another kill. This flank could be a damning moment for Oddity, planting in a very exposed position above those holes, but so far, it's successful.
Where was Echo? Echo did not deny the plant as well. IQ just got a free plant, and just like that, it's a 2v1. Flossie and Luna going down, and all up to Copper to try to clutch this up, as he is on a flank, which might be caught off guard very quickly if he won't be too careful. But this time it's God Legion who is not too careful. 1 versus 1 situation, and Vinny at a disadvantage in health. So right now, this is a prime position. Oh
no way!
He does down him as well!
Oh my God, why did you peek that, Vinny? This should have absolutely been a win for Oddity, but Avant managed to steal it. That should
what an absolute gamer. Yeah. What an absolute player. Holy moly. Copper managing to bring it back after what seemed to be a very odd round in general.
That should not have happened at all. I mean, again, Avant really do struggle when it comes to some of these basic denial. I agree with you. You know, where was Echo drones?
The Echo, yeah.
Maybe the IQ had already taken them out. I don't believe we saw that. But a lot of the information was very well countered by Oddity. Talk about the Maverick charge, destroying the Maverick blowtorch, destroying that Maestro camera. But yeah, I think that you got to give credit to Avant. They win the fights when they really matter, and that's what I've got to say. Oddity really have to be realizing this and playing into that.
Definitely. And now going on the master bedroom and gym. Reckon could work quite well with the current lineup. They've shown that they can play it out very well. Luna being on Castle is a bit of a strange choice. I would probably rather prefer seeing her on something like Alibi or maybe even Maestro. But I mean, Castle still has a decent gun. Like the UMP, it's definitely not the powerhouse weapon, but it's very stable, can frag out quite well. And Castle's utility is definitely a worthy one for this site in particular.
Yeah, I think this is the bomb site on this map where you will get the most out of that utility. Now that's a bit of a potentially vulnerable spot for that electrical. Actually, no, I think I'm wrong there, because they put that giant impenetrable object on the other side of that that wooden wall. So even if IQ does spot it out, he won't be able to shoot it through the wall. Anyhow, this is bedroom, of course. Extending a hold into cash is something we see very common, and something that we also see often from Avant is playing a lot of this alibi. It's been very successful in the past, and wow, okay, that was a great job getting rid of that. What was that? Was that the
That was a castle barricade.
No, but I mean the electronic device. I believe it was a Kaid Electroclaw.
Probably, yeah.
On the roof. There you go. That'll allow Redolent to open this up. Vinny to peek on through.
Interestingly enough, Vinny is not using the ACOG sight that is available on his M4, which is actually quite a decent gun on the recoil side. And funnily enough as well, Avant just decided to promptly fall back all the way to logistics. So they gave up the control of CCTV, they gave up control of even cash. And now they just falling back. But that so far worked pretty well so far for them.
Yeah, I mean, they've completely cleared cash, Oddity, and now construction as well. Avant haven't lost a player in the process, but haven't delayed a huge amount of time. The thing that Avant really do seem to like doing is finding picks and playing for gunfights.
Yeah, playing
it's
for
how
picks,
they won.
yeah.
It's how they won that previous round. At the very end of it, they should not have won, but you know, a 1v2 clutch from Copper. That shouldn't have happened. And Oddity, I think, are in a bit of a contrast in terms of play style. Now we see Avant attempting this flank of cash. An interesting strategy, to be sure, something we don't see hugely often, where you completely default off of cash, but without too much resistance, but then emphasize a flank. And it could well work, but not so far for Copper, who's been taken out. Now, if Oddity do have the numbers advantage even further now, it'll be even more difficult for Avant to retake as this control is taken by Vinny.
Yeah, or Vinny might actually have a very nice angle as well onto Vicious, who just tries to vault through. The plan did go down, and now all up to Luna and Flossie, who will need to try to verse the whole 5-stack of Oddity. Flashbang's coming out, but Luna just decides to continue pushing. A nice shot onto Redolent. We'll be shutting down 4 versus 2. Still mostly doable, but still a hurdle and a half to go with. Oh, but a very prompt angle set up. We'll be shutting down, and Todd actually trading up with Luna.
Yeah, nice trade, actually. Good job on them. Oh,
very nicely done.
That was an interesting bullet trail. But
yeah.
Yeah, so Oddity do step it up again, and I like that Avant try these strategies, but sometimes the strategies themselves don't seem to be working effectively. I mean, that's pretty apparent. That idea there of, okay, let's default off of cash, let's default even off of construction. And while they're, you know, taking their time to push on through and decide what to do next, we'll flank. The problem is, Oddity didn't take very much time to decide what they wanted to do next, and Avant did take quite a lot of time to flank. And I think that if Avant had more information, they'd be able to better calculate a lot of these plays.
Definitely, even with the play of Flossie on Legion, when he was right below 3 players of Oddity, if he waited just a slight little bit longer, he would have gotten a very clear angle onto Thatcher without even Vast realizing that he's about to die.
So Oddity was already in a really good position on this attacking half because they've won 3 out of 6. And I think that it's pretty safe to say if you win 2 out of 6 of your attacks, you're doing pretty well.
Oh yeah.
And if Oddity can win this next one, which is entirely possible since they've already won it previously, then they're set up well to, in my opinion, take this 7-3, 7-4.
Definitely. Fisher guy will be setting up another Kaid charge, which, I mean, last time we saw that defense, that was a complete failure.
Yeah, there were some big oversights from Oddity the previous time they defended this site, but prior to that, they did attack it successfully. So, look, I don't expect Vast to waste these 3 EMPs like he did last time, and that'll be a nice, you know, first step to promising this bomb site for your team.
Yeah, Todd, meanwhile, will be approaching the very same way towards the side. 2 drones droning up ahead and checking if the coast is clear for now. But as it stands, I mean, if Oddity won't mess up their EMP grenades, if they will be able to get those 2 breaches done and dusted easily, well, as we're seeing finally this time properly, I reckon Oddity will have every potential and every possibility to get the dub. Especially, okay, sorry, one more thing. They need to keep Thermite alive for him to breach the kitchen hatch.
Yeah, well, I'd also be careful of that kitchen hatch because not only do you have the Kaid, but you have a Pulse who can C4 in kitchen. That's a C4 gone off, no damage done. And the Pulse being very well tracked by God Legion. I really like this. You can see that he is now off his scanner, and Todd is also assisting to look through the floor. The opportunity now potentially for one of the Oddity hard breaches to open up the hatch. That's exactly what will happen. Redolent, both of his exothermic charges successful in opening up key entries into the downstairs.
And right now, Todd will just be watching over the flank, potentially thinking that there might be a push out, but Avant just switched over to a full turtle strat, like you said before, and this could work pretty well if they will be able to hold all the angles, because right now Vast, who's going to be contesting the angle in a solo firefight, could potentially catch a bullet in the dome piece.
Yeah, but he does have some good angles to contend with. I'd worry most about these Legion mines. That gas, I'm not quite sure what happened there, but still, Luna does have, I believe, another one in her pocket to fling towards Vast. Still a good amount of time left for Oddity, but no picks yet, and that's something that makes it very difficult when you're entering into these bomb sites. If defenders can simply trade you out and have no numbers, then you'll be really struggling.
Ooh.
Almost a trade, but Fisher Guy wins this gunfight against God Legion on the main stairs, and it's a full rush into the bomb site for Oddity, but the plan's denied. Fisher Guy again, all these angles, he could get a third. In fact, he does. Just one player injured on the Avant side, two still up for Oddity, but for how much longer when Fisher Guy wants it? Two players for Oddity do find picks, 20 seconds to go. It'll have to be a 2 versus 5 clutch, and Fisher Guy's still alive with that giant slug shotgun in his hands. Vast falls to Luna, and then Vicious cleans up the final kill. Avant and their half, 3-3.
3-3 indeed, and a very good showcase overall for Avant. Still managing to draw it out on the first half. So right now for them going on offense, I'd say they have a decent ground to go with. They're not too stressed about, guys, we need to get the lead back on. And at the same time, yeah, it's just in the comfort zone. Whereas Oddity had a bit of a shaky offense, I'd say.
Yeah.
At least within like the past several rounds.
Look, I feel like Oddity had really good moments and then fairly poor moments as well. One of the things that Avant is doing that really is punishing Oddity and has just, in my opinion, cost them 2 rounds, is that Avant want to take fights. And Oddity are not expecting that Avant will be wanting to take fights. So for example, on that last round there, you saw one player just walking down the main stairs, not expecting that there's a player aggressive in the hallway. Oddity hasn't been expecting this aggression and hasn't expecting Avant to be so desperate to take these gunfights. It's also what's won Copper that 1 versus 2 clutch on this very bomb site with the plant down, because both of the enemies, well, okay, one of the enemies peeked him. The final one, really, that was
Vinny peeking him at that angle was not a good choice as well.
Yeah, really shouldn't have happened.
Considering on the HP that he was. But to get back to the matter at hand, Oddity now on defense, and they got a Valkyrie, but Valkyrie is being played by a completely different player, like the usual one. Because usually you would see Todd on Valkyrie and then Vast on Legion, but this time they decided to swap around the places, and I'm quite curious to see how well will Vast perform compared to his teammate.
Yeah, well, I think Oddity do like to mix their operators around quite a lot. God Legion's also pretty comfortable Valkyrie player, so it's nice to see that they do change around these roles and operators occasionally, and Vast
to keep things fresh.
Pardon? Yeah, for sure. And one of the good things about leaving Todd on an operator that doesn't have to use the camera means that Vast can be sitting on that camera making call-outs for his team, as he is the IGL, and deliver that to the players who will then play more aggressively. An unreinforced wall in the construction exterior is very surprising, not very common, but typically indicates the fact that you really do want to be placing your utilities somewhere specific.
Now, interestingly enough, Avant bringing in a Zofia on Luna, and she was raging a fair few at times, like managing to bust out some amazing kills on the Zofia. And I definitely think that out of Avant roster, I'd say her and Copper will be the ones popping off quite hard.
Needs to happen. Currently, the mute jam is preventing some of the potential scans from Jackal. May indeed be the impact. Okay, that's an interesting impact grenade. It does work out pretty well, but not for much longer as Luna finds God Legion on the cross, watching through that construction window, and cash control very comfortably taken by Avant. Just a minute and a half.
That was a good start as well as getting rid of the smoke player is a good go overall, because that is the plant denial gone. So now it's all up to Vinny with a C4 or Vas with a C4.
So one of the good things, though, you do have to say for Oddity is they did only lose that one player. A lot of teams will dedicate multiple people into Cash, but they still have more players up. Vinny gets very aggressive on a run out, traded after he finds that one kill. Avant need to keep up these trades. It's 3 versus 3. Copper waiting for the aggression. I'm not sure whether Vast is happy to oblige. He looks like he might be keen, and he may well be punished, but no, he finds the kill.
Wow.
A strong peek from the Valkyrie player, and now Fisher guy very cautious of that same angle. Just 30 seconds remaining, and the 3 remaining defenders may be damaged up, but they do have that numbers advantage.
Yeah, right now, and Redolent will be completely punished, as well as Todd. And a nice peek from Fisher. Will be cleaning this up. I love this, the way how Avant executed this, and a very unfortunate loss for Oddity as they just all lined up.
Yeah, very good 2 versus 3. The positioning from Avant being very split apart worked out tremendously for them. You can see the Maestro, for example, in the bathroom, peeking aggressively, revealing his position, completely unknown to the fact that there was a player to his right pushing in from that angle, and that player managed to engage 2 various angles that the Oddity players were completely exposed to and had no idea that there was someone coming from that direction. Lack of information for Oddity did hurt them significantly in the end of that round. Good performance back and forth, but this does come to show that Avant know how to attack on Clubhouse, and this will not in fact be a very heavily defender-sided map.
Interestingly enough, though, Todd bringing in a Caveira on the defense, which it's kind of considered as a BM pick, as well as if you manage to pull off the interrogation, that is a big leverage that the defense can use. And I'm not too sure if that is a good pick against Avant, just due to the fact how well so far Avant has been playing. And how many times Oddity were missing out on some of the opportunities or some of the frags.
Yeah, I would never say no to Todd, though. He's he's a very strong player, and look, if he wants to do something, I would just say let him and see what happens. If it doesn't work, you can roast him for it later.
Indeed. Now, Vinny back again. Well, not Vinny, sorry. We once again see Akayat on the downstairs hold, as he proved to be quite potent when Avant were defending it, managing to score a triple kill very easily.
Yeah, that shotgun is very powerful. It also came down to the fact that the Avant players were very prepared to take these gunfights and very eager, whereas Oddity on their attacks were a little bit preoccupied and not expecting that kind of aggression. I wonder if the story will be reversed in this case, and Oddity will in fact be the ones to play aggressive, but I expect more likely they'll try to delay as much time as possible and give information to Todd, who will then attempt to go for a late flank. Entirely possible Todd won't be trying to roam. Who knows? I think he's currently on site. Yeah, that's a Caveira playing inside of...
Yep.
Okay, that's interesting. That's not
so full turtle as well from Oddity. Todd not roaming around, which feels a bit odd.
I wonder if it's because he was expecting a Jackal, and maybe he wanted to play downstairs.
That could actually be the case, because they did reveal that Avant are able to play Jackal, and they played it fairly
Copper
well.
Loves his Jackal.
Yeah, Copper, a prolific Jackal main, but definitely, yeah, this could be the case why Todd would have picked Caveira, but at the same time, trading out just the fact that you can't be tracked for a worse firefight loadout, that I'm not too sure if I want that.
Well, so far it's pretty slow going, at least on the Oddity side. Not much to do when it's just Avant picking apart your defense one piece at a time. Okay, he's not quite sure. The call's being made for Avant. They're the ones who have to make this move. They have 1 minute left to do it. Whereas Oddity are just playing very comfortably and waiting.
And it seems that 3 out of 5 of Avant players are currently bunching up for a push to the blue tunnel, which could work out, I reckon. But at the same time, it requires some aim, and aim God Legion does have, as well as Redolence shutting down Copper and Flossie as well, getting the revenge on the Avant player after a very gruesome execution with a shotgun. But Fisherguy now taking up a fair chunk of damage as well. Will be forced to now start moving up and see if he can get some angles going for himself.
Just 30 seconds remaining, but Luna makes a good entry into Church. Still knows that there's likely to be another player inside of there. Fisherguy, meanwhile, fails to enter Arsenal. Luna now wants to push on inside. God Legion taken down by Vicious. Luna needs to find this next kill, and it's a good one for Luna. Vast down on the floor. It's just 2 players left for this defense. And that Maestro camera, where on earth is it? Vicious doesn't know. And Luna taken down on this flank. It's all fallen apart for Avant. Todd cleans up the final 2 kills. And a solid turtle hold works perfectly for Oddity.
Indeed, and it seemed that the full turtle hold works for both of these teams, managing to make it perfectly work, honestly. Even after losing one of the sites and getting it evened out to 2 versus 2, Oddity still managed to pull it back quite well, and we back on a draw so far. Score both teams needing 2 points to get to at least a draw state, which now that I think, actually this might very much happen. The first map to be drawn out.
Yeah, it's possible. Both of these teams seemed, in that round at least, to be just relying on, all right, let's just, you know, if they peek in, we're in an advantageous position. We know the angles we've set up as defenders, so we'll win the fights. And the attack, it's like, all right, we're going to peek on inside, and we'll win the gunfights, because we're good at that. I don't want to make it sound too oversimplified or anything, but I'm not seeing as much utility as you could possibly see from the attacking side to dismantle some of these positions. And it's really interesting. I just find maybe it's the fact that that blitz is off the table. Avant don't have some other operator that they can then go to, say, okay, we need some kind of forceful pushing power, let's bring it out. Maybe, I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing one of these teams try out a Monty or a Glaz or any
bring out a Montagne.
Yeah, it could work.
Definitely, I would be agreeing with you on this one. They do need some forceful utility to kind of just force push themselves through through the choke points. Whereas Oddity seem to have been sitting quite comfy, and Todd is back on Valkyrie, so that is a good sign as well. But I'm curious whether his Valk plays will be able to pay off on this side, because he had a couple of good peaks overall. Managed to get some really nasty flicks as well, but can the rest of the team pull up as well?
Yeah, more Oddity this time on this cash defense. Haven't had an opportunity to play it as of yet. It's just Bedroom and Church Arsenal so far. The Kaid also brought by Oddity, as well as a Bandit. And in fact, neither of those will deny this exterior wall being opened. I have to imagine that's the purpose of those 2 operators. There's not a huge amount otherwise that you can get done. Of course, you've got that west-facing wall inside of Cash that leads into construction that you can, you know, deal on up, but it's very rare that we do see a push on that side these days.
So far I'm seeing at least a wall and a barbed wire electrified. So that's, I'm guessing, where the Kite charges went. Bandit, probably a misused utility, and Copper might actually have a nice drop on one of the defenders, but luckily for the Oddity player, they do manage to fall back. Redolent is down now. It will be needed to pick back up by one of the teammates, but right now, Fisherguy will be doing exactly that. Vicious picking up a nice double kill onto Redolent, and God Legion in hopes while the Oddity players were trying to get the revives going, but just like that, losing a Maestro and a Kaid. Not a good start.
When people pull out the Legion mine, they just throw it back on the floor. What if someone else steps in it? That's
way too woke for me right now, Dev.
Well, it works for Fisherguy nonetheless, because he found a kill following up on that, and Oddity absolutely falling apart. Vast completely flashed on out. There are 5 players, and the Jaeger ban working so well for Avant here as these projectiles doing them so much. Now, just Todd, he does have a C4, in fact, but he'll need to reload his primary if he wants to take another gunfight. Doesn't have many opportunities here, but he could deny the plant. No, it doesn't work. Luna's severely damaged, but she's still alive. 1 versus 3, and he has to vault into this window. Fisherguy won't let him try, taking him out. Avant, a very, very strong attack here onto Cash.
Yeah, good execution overall for Avant, and just if they continue playing it just like that, I do feel that they might even get the big dub on this one, because this this whole defense of Oddity has been even shakier than I'd say the attack. Because so far, yeah, we saw a couple of good plays by Oddity, but the moment their defense is starting to fall apart, the moment it starts to become 2 versus 5 or 2 versus 4, it is not looking good for them.
And I've got to credit Avant in that round. They opened up they started to look like they were going to go a really typical take. Just open up that east-facing wall, and then, you know, what we typically see push in through garage, trying to dismantle players on side, try and force a plant, hope that you don't get C4 or smoked. If you do, try and replace that player, hope you haven't run out of time. But no, instead Avant's like, okay, we'll open up this east-facing wall, and then with the pressure on from that direction, we'll make a full rotate, take control of the west side of the map, including construction, open up the wall. We've got a Thatcher, so Kayyids and Bandits, not really a problem for us. And unless if there was a Bandit trick to make that much slower, I don't think Oddity could have done a lot to prevent that from happening. And once the openings into the site had been engaged, then Oddity didn't have any opportunity to fight back.
Yeah, I certainly feel that it's the loss of Oddity was credit to both of the teams. Avant managing to emphasize and play it out very well and very flexibly, being able to take control of, like you said, construction, and being able to open up the east wall. Whereas for Oddity, they did not put any effort in trying to deny the breach of that wall into CCTV.
But other than pre-play stuff,
yeah, they had like just
Thatcher will get rid of that pretty easy. Yeah,
they had just pre-play stuff and didn't even bother to play him out any other way. So definitely feels like a missed opportunity to me.
Yeah. Look, you have to be. It's very difficult to be that prepared for a Bandit trick wherever it's needed, and you can see Vinny attempting to Bandit trick the east-facing wall. It could happen, maybe. I don't know. It's depends how much utility Avant have prepared. Here a Bandit trick goes down, and oh, it's the utility being denied by the Zafir charge. That's a perfect counter from Luna, cancelling the animation of the Bandit perfectly.
Very well executed breach and very well just used utility. Luna, meanwhile, will proceed to drone up ahead. Will be missing the position of the Bandit player, which could potentially cost her life within this round. But apart from that, really, both of the teams have full 5-stack rosters. Well, make it 5v4, as Vast will be picking up a nice C4 kill onto Fisho. So that is Ibana off the board. No more breaching from a remote position. So that is a good start right now for Oddity on their defense if they want to bring it back. But currently 2 Avant players are creeping up as well from the bedroom, which could be the bane of the existence for Oddity.
And another good thing about Oddity's defense is that they do have this presence in the garage still. It hasn't been cleared out, but as you mentioned, Avant looking to go for this 2-pronged push again. If Vossi had a wallbang here, that could turn the tide of the round. And again, Copper does the exact same nade as last time, and just because the Jaeger's banned, that works out perfectly. Now a perfect opportunity for an entry into the side. It works out. 3 kills for Copper. The perfect entry of 4K. Could this be the ace for Copper? Vicious steals it away, and Avant propel themselves onto match points.
I'm amazed how well Copper just played it out, managing to have the patience before peeking I believe that was the mute player, and then just off he goes. The momentum on him was just phenomenal. I really have to commend. And at this point, it wasn't even Oddity's fault. Yes, they did all they could, and at that point, it's just the firefights did not go in their favor.
Yeah, and I mean, making a bit more of a tactical comparison there, but Avant, not only is it, you know, the good gunfights, but they banned Jaeger, and that has gotten them 2 kills. You know, disregarding everything else that's been getting them, like, for example, Luna countering that Bandit trick through that drone hole, that could have been countered then by an ADS, but Jaeger's banned. Those 2 grenade kills we've seen so far in that exact same position at the top of Cash Stairs, that couldn't have happened if Jaeger wasn't banned. Avant are making really good use of their operator bans, at least that specifically that defensive ban, and it's working out great for them.
And look at the score lines as well. Fisher on 9 kills, Vicious on 7, and Copper is kind of bringing it back to 5 as well.
We did have a rehost, I believe, so
yeah,
this won't be fully complete.
But still, I mean, it does show how Avant are playing very, very well and managing to, yeah, get a 2-point advantage over Oddity, and the team that I initially was thinking that will get the win or either the draw. But yeah, this currently seems that Avant might be actually running away with 3 points at the very least.
Yeah, and the thing I was saying, you know, my question for this match is, Oddity have looked so good, but can they keep that up? And this is their chance to prove it. And Avant have been so mixed. And which Avant will we be seeing today? And Avant are looking pretty good today. And Oddity are looking pretty good. I like a lot of what they're doing, but some things that Oddity have been doing have just been, you know, really crucial mistakes that have unfortunately led them to losing rounds. Things like not successfully using their EMP utility, or peeking when they didn't need to, or not being prepared for what Avant have to come, which, okay, that last one, you can't really blame Oddity too much, because Avant have, that's something that Avant have done really well, not necessarily something that Oddity have done poorly.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you on this one, but I'm curious to see how will the gym bedroom, because this, if Oddity will continue making small mistakes, this will be the last round, and 3 points will be going away from Oddity, and the whole statistic that they would have would definitely not be very favorable, because they are sitting currently on 4 draws and only 2 wins for themselves, which is not good. And Copper, once again, the 3rd grenade kill, will be securing another one for himself, making God Legion once again out of the round very quickly and very early. And that is the breach denial as well. Well, not breach, pardon. So plan denial.
Yeah, cash control is the big thing. So the strategy once again for God Legion was to play inside of cash as long as he could. He had the impact grenades. He could deny any kind of thermite charge or Hibana pellets on the walls. He also had the gas, so he could deny any kind of entry, but without any real cost, Avant did get rid of him. Again, got to say that Jaeger ban working out really well for Avant.
Definitely, and it's definitely hurting Oddity as well, not being able to counter any more grenades. As initially, you would have thought that, yeah, we can kind of adjust, but seems like that's definitely not the case. Copper just managing to blast people off with those grenades, definitely working wonders. Right now, Fisher will be trying to assist with a pincer, but it seems that the mute player is just playing very carefully at the logistics office.
Fisher guy making himself a rotate into the other side. Mast does eventually find Copper inside a logistic. Fisher's keen for a refrag, but it may well be too late. Todd takes down Luna. There's refrags going in an abundance, but just 2 versus 3 now for Avant. 1 versus 3. A very difficult position for Fisher as he doesn't even find the Maestro on that spray. A little bit of time to work with, just 20 seconds. He finds another kill, but there's the good peek. Perfect timing for Vinny. He takes down Fisher guy and already get themselves 1 round away from a draw.
And they would definitely need that right now, because they want to get that at least extra point. Whereas for Avant, yeah, they also need it, but they have the advantage. So right now, for Oddity, even if they're gonna get the draw on this one, they need severely those 3 points on the next map. Whereas Avant, they just can keep on drawing it out, and they'll be sitting pretty on what I believe is 4th place on the leaderboard. Yeah, 4th.
Yeah.
Because it goes Orglis, Fnatic, Mindfreak, and then Avant, and then Oddity. And we even talked about that. I was quite surprised how Oddity were on 5th spot, because they had such a good start of the at the start of the season.
Well, one thing about that is, I mean, even if Avant gets the draw here, they're tying with Mindfreak. They get the win here, and they leapfrog Mindfreak. If Oddity then wins on the 2nd map, they will also leapfrog Mindfreak, which pushes Mindfreak down to 5th spot, which I think a lot of people hadn't expected. You know, we're talking about the former dark-sided roster. Yeah. We hadn't expected them to be in 5th position.
Not at all, and that would definitely be quite a bit of an upsetting happening for Mindfreak. So right now, whoever will be scoring the win on this map will definitely be getting that sweet 3rd spot. But either way, downstairs hold is in effect. Bringing in the same loadout, actually. Todd once again on Caveira, and this time Vinny playing with an AUG rather than the slug shotgun, which, I mean, it's much more, it has a stable recoil. It's a good automatic weapon, but out of the two of those weapons, I personally always would go for the slug shotgun.
Yeah, I agree. Funny thing is, though, if he had like a normal pistol without a scope or maybe an SMG, I would probably run the slug shotgun and then that pistol or SMG. But the funny thing about that is that both of his slug shotgun with an ACOG and that pistol with an ACOG, they're very similar weapons, except that the pistol does slightly less damage and has slightly more recoil. So it's like, it's a slightly worse version of your alternative. And if you've got the slug shotgun, then you've got two weapons that are almost exactly the same, except one slightly worse. So I can see the appeal in running the AUG. If you want a little bit of variety, you want to take some close range fights as well.
Most definitely, but interestingly enough, Vicious setting up a Claymore for waiting for a potential run out even, whereas Luna is just holding an angle, so just to ensure that nobody will be even bothering to contest that staircase. Whereas it feels that Oddity just playing the very same game that they did before, just be careful and turtle up, and hopefully for them they will be able to pull it off. Whereas for Avant, well, they have all the utility that they need and all the firepower that they need to get the round.
Thatcher really has made such an impact on this map as a whole, the way that Cade has been used. And if Thatcher was not in play, the Cade would have been so much more of a headache. And that's why we saw Oddity fail so much when they wasted all of their Thatcher grenades. But Avant haven't been... No, it hasn't been a problem for them at all. Their Thatcher grenades are always used perfectly, and they're very comfortable. And you can even see, as they go down the main stairs, they peek these angles to make sure that they won't be caught blindsided, and that's was the problem for Oddity.
Most definitely, and right now, unfortunately for Vinny, he will be missing some shots. Flossy picking up the first kill onto God Legion off, but what could be potentially the final round. Vinny tagged up quite substantially. Vast going down after Todd picks up a kill into Vicious. Luna picking up another kill into Redolin. 2 versus 4. The kills are rolling down. Flossy another one onto Vinny, and it seems all that is left is Todd, who needs to clutch this up quite severely. Nice headshot once again. That's another one for Todd. 1 versus 2 situation. The plan did go down, so all up to Copper and Flossy, but the bullets are flying down. They are very knowledgeable about the Caveira's position, and right now Todd needs to pull out some big brain plays right now if he wants to secure the draw for his team. But he's so close. Oh, the shot's coming out.
No
another
way.
one pistol.
Oh my God, what are you doing?
The draw!
No!
The draw for Oddity and Avant coming out of a 1 versus 4 clutch for Oddity. Todd, the absolute madman. What?
That was such a throw. That was such a throw. I'm sorry, Avant, what are you doing? First time. Okay, great job, Todd. Really great job. But that was a 4 versus 1, and the first thing I saw that went wrong was that Fisho guy sprint. Yeah, that may well have been an ace as well. 12 kills.
Yeah, that may have actually been an ace.
The first thing I saw right there is it was a 4 versus 1, and Fisho guy decides, all right, we know where the last one is, and he sprints on and he vaults through that hole into Arsenal and he gets aggressive. That was unnecessary. Walks into a lesion mine, so he can't continue getting aggressive and pushing the cav. And then the other player, the Zafir, instead of playing behind the AK rails, actually peeks out. And Todd, you know, he plays pretty well. He wins that gunfight. And the second one's a free kill because the Hibana's put herself in a terrible position. The third and fourth kills were really well played for Todd, but again, just so unnecessary for Oddity.
Yeah, definitely wasn't necessary, but
that's
overall,
2 points you just sacrificed.
Yeah,
I can't believe it.
That's 2 points.
Well, oh, man.
Either or, Avant still managing to score at least a single point right now. But for Oddity, I gotta give props, at least to Todd. That clutch at the end was still quite phenomenal. Managing to pull it off out of all the operators on Caveira, the operator that we were bagging out very severely before, and now he just manages to pull this off. That was a feature and a half.
Man, I just like, yeah, it was an amazing play, but it all could have been saved if Avant didn't get ahead of themselves. They thought, all right, we've won the game, And then they started getting, right
Yeah, look at this.
So the Hibana wanted to peek too aggressively first. Then you can see that Zofia wide peeked. This still should have been a winning position for Avant, but Todd was just feeling so good about it after that strong performance. And obviously the changes to the damage fall off on the Luazon, that's the pistol that Caviera uses, means that it's still 2-hit kill or 2-hit down in those longer range fights, like that angle where he was peeking into Moto. So just 2-tap, does the job. And then the other one, peeks him because his teammate's been downed. Yeah. And he wins that because he's using the Luazon, which does, a ton of damage in that close quarters.
You could just hear Phil Swift on the background as well. Oh, that's a lot of damage.
Man, Avant! Why?
I'm just
Why
amused
did you have to do that?
I was just amused how close this all was, because yes, Avant technically could say thrown it, but at the same time, it was still a very well-played game.
Really well played. That was a great game. I personally need to take a minute, so we're going to go to a short break. Don't go anywhere.
Stylish on the outside, savage on the inside. Legion by Lenovo.
G'day guys, and welcome to map 2 of Oddity versus Avant. And I don't think that break was long enough because I'm still reeling.
I'm shocked and pleasantly surprised at the same time. Shocked how, like you said, Avant nearly, well, technically threw it, that last round. And then pleasantly surprised how well Todd managed to play off that mistake, because there was so there was so many mistakes from both of the teams during all of those rounds, and out of all of them, it had to be, I believe that was an ace at the end.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. So, like I was saying earlier, when you mentioned that Todd had picked the Cav the first time, I was like, well, if he wants to play Cav, Todd's a pretty good player, let him play Cav. Maybe I was right.
Yeah, you could have been right with the pick, and it worked pretty well. The pistol is still a very powerful tool. It's just over the range, you probably won't be able to deal a whole lot of damage, but overall, yeah, definitely still a very viable operator for the firefights, all things considered.
Yeah, I mean, that's not a fast firing SMG. And
no, not
that's
at all.
Obviously fire rate's king in Rainbow Six Siege. So slow fire rate, you shouldn't be winning a ton of fights. But just something about that gun. Yeah, I know, you click heads, and that's what Todd did. And also going to point out something really specific here and nerdy. The way that Todd used the two weapons he had available, he had a really high damage pistol, and he had the M12 SMG. When it was longer range fights at the start, he was using the SMG and going for headshots. And that's actually a thing. You can decide whether you're going to go for headshots or not. And he was specifically pre-aiming at head height, and he got the 2 headshots onto the first 2 players. Then he decides to use Silent Step, which means he has to use the pistol to creep up without making any noise. And then when he's using the pistol, he's going for body shots.
Yeah.
He is going for body shots.
Because he knows the damage is still going to be
and all he has to do is click twice. And he's, you know, holding a fairly tight angle, click twice, and I know that's a bit nerdy, but like I just find that really interesting about the decisions that you have to make to win gunfights. Sometimes it's not as simple as, I want to win this gunfight. You have to really think about what these players take into account.
What is strange to me is that when Copper was trying to peek, he went for a wide peek onto Caveira.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Plenty of time to shoot as well. We saw so many times when Copper had like a split-second flick and managed to get the headshot.
Yeah.
And he had nearly a second to aim at Caveira before she started shooting at him. And he didn't even land a single shot.
What I would have done in that, okay, I'm not saying I would have done this, but what I would say was the best way to do this for the player in Moto who wanted to peek. You want to peek because you don't want to let the Cav have the peeker's advantage onto you. So maybe peek, pre-fire, and then completely duck away.
Yeah.
And that means that Cav maybe lands one shot onto you, and then she has to push you. She knows you're there, so she can't let you go.
And
she has to push you, and you have a crossfire. So you really should be winning that scenario. But bit of a disappointment.
Either way, I want to get your opinion on what could be the second map, though, because...
Well, let's have a look at the veto, because that'll come up right now. So we've already had Clubhouse.
Yeah.
And last time around, Oddity banned out Bank and Border, the two Bs, and Avant banned out Villa and Oregon. Consulate and Coastline were our default bans, but they're not default bans any longer. Villa and Clubhouse occupy those spots today.
I'd say right now the best case scenario for Oddity would be to get themselves a Coastline. Because Coastline has been a pretty well mapped, even back when Todd was part of the Atletico roster. He was a force to be reckoned with on that map. And with Oddity, I'd say that's nearly a similar scenario with the way, well, the amount of potential that Oddity has.
And Avant did lose out Coastline just last week to currently known as Ex Nihilo, formerly known as Mind Freak. Interesting that Consulate's the ban for Oddity, because they actually drew with Fnatic on that map.
Well, Consulate so far just been quite a bit of a shaky one. Like we saw, if it's a big difference between the standings, case point, Mind Freak and Fnatic.
Yeah, we've seen some shutout matches on the map.
Yeah, 7-1. So this one, Oddity just don't want to take any chances.
All right, last two, I'm going to lock it. Okay, there you go. I was going to guess, but...
Coastline out of all of them, interesting.
Yeah, Coastline banned by Oddity. So I'm surprised a little bit about that, because as you mentioned, Oddity might be pretty good on Coastline, and Avant lost on it last week, but it's Border that we end up on. So last map, Oddity banned Border. When they had the choice of Border, Oregon, or Club, they banned Border.
Yeah.
So that was their least favorite out of those three maps.
Correct.
So this is definitely not Oddity's favorite, but it was not one of their first bans either. So that's what we'll be ending up on this time around. Avant drew with Ex Nihilo on it last week, as I mentioned earlier in the broadcast.
Yeah, so you reckon this will be the Avant's map? Or do you reckon this is just a middle ground for both of those teams? Because to me, that sounds like this could be the advantage for Avant after they drone.
To me, you need to have Oddity need to have voted Avant's match last week against Ex Nihilo, because Avant's a team that often brings you new things, such as the way that they banned Jaeger on the last map, and it worked really well for them because they played so many projectiles and got quite a lot of kills off of those grenades. They did the exact same thing last week against Ex Nihilo on Border. So if we have Oddity prepared to, counter that Jaeger ban by, using the grenades on their own side really effectively, and trying to maybe survive as much as possible, and it's difficult to say just don't get naded, but you have to employ strategies where you're avoiding those grenades and the Ying charges.
Just keep Jaeger.
Well, maybe. Well, no, you just keep Jaeger, right? Maybe what you need to do if you're Oddity is ban Ying or something, so that Ying isn't a possibility. Maybe ban Dokkaebi, because we know how much Avant like Dokkaebi, and the smokes are also now unhindered with that Jaeger ban. Also, something else you can do, this is like, again, really nerdy, but you can open up a lot of holes in the floor. So just say you're defending Armory, right? You open up a ton of the floor, and then if someone tries to throw smokes in, there's a chance that that smoke will actually roll through the floor and go below. I know that sounds really funny, but it actually does work sometimes. So, I mean, who knows?
We're just about to find that out very soon, as we are transferring over to Border and about to witness the ban phase as well, which I feel we might see very, very catered against those two teams and not very meta picks. Like we saw pretty much case point the previous map. Blitz will be the first one to go. Oddity do not want to verse Blitz in any case end scenario, as that operator can be a massive headache for any player if you don't have any crossfires pre-set up.
Yeah, and we know Copper's a pretty good blitz. Copper's actually been a really strong player for Avant recently, but we'll see how he does without the blitz. Second out on the attacking side, banned Buck.
So that is against Todd.
Yeah, and it's not what they banned last week on this map. They banned Ying last week on this map. So maybe, okay, my speculation last week with Avant was that they banned Ying and banned Jaeger because they want to ban Jaeger so they can use grenades, but they don't want to play Ying, and they don't want to verse Ying. So this time, maybe if Oddity actually have Ying strategies, that could work out really well for them. Avant getting rid of the mirror.
I mean,
instead of the Jaeger, that's the thing. So no Jaeger ban, all my speculation gone.
Yeah, so Jaeger ban now not slipping through. I'm pretty sure Oddity won't be banning Jaeger, all things considered. He is definitely much needed for them. But yeah, it feels like a misplay from Avant just banning out Mirror, because she, I'd say, wouldn't be as much of a stepping stone, even though she does change the meta quite massively. Whereas Kayad being the last one, I mean, yeah, you wouldn't want to just deal with the slug shotgun, I guess, at that stage.
Yeah, difficult to say whether it's specifically for the slug shotty or for the utility, but on this side, I don't really know how I mean, I can think of a couple ways where you can use the Kayid that maybe a mute or a bandit wouldn't cut it, but I wonder if that's what's worth the ban. Surely that's a 6 pick for Cat.
Surely that's a bait. Yeah, that is a bait. Okay.
I think that's not even just a bait. That's what you call a taunt.
Yeah.
They're waving in their faces. Ha! I ace clutched on you last round. I got a 4K in a 1v4. And look, just seeing that, I think Avant would
tilt them.
Yeah, that would tilt me if I was on Avant right now.
That would the first thought would be the nerves on that guy to pull the Cavero on a separate map. But no, Todd will be promptly swapping over to Valkyrie for the 6th pick, and I definitely think that Valkyrie on this one will be a much stronger choice, all things considered, with her utility, her weaponry. Everything is just feels better.
Oh, Valk is fantastic on this map. A lot of good positions you can play, and Todd, especially if he's playing on the inside of the CCTV, you really can go for a lot of runouts if you have that information. You can even go for a C4 through the floor if you use that camera that we saw placed inside of CCTV itself.
Correct. And probably an unpopular opinion, but in my opinion, Valk is one of the few operators that actually suited the thematic of the map very well, compared to say something like with Maverick Clash when new Hereford was introduced. It felt like they were just quite disconnected from the map. Like you try to play them on the new map, you wouldn't really be seeing much of a success rate, whereas Valkyrie is very potent.
Play some Clash on the top 4. That's a lot of fun. Anyway,
King George would disagree.
Oh, really? Yeah, well, a lot of people get pretty frustrated with Clash players. So, this attack so far shaping up, just encircling, a lot of pressure on this north side. Typically, you'll see either a push from the southwest or from the northeast, and so far it seems to be predominantly north. Vinny finds the first kill onto Copper. As we mentioned, an impact fragger for Avant. I believe he was killed out through the floor.
Nice job for Oddity right now to start it off. But, oh, God Legion will be going down to the hands of Fisher guy, who I believe was speaking from the main hallway, I guess, or the break room. But either way, a nice peek. Another one from Redolin as well, managing to close it out. 3v4 is still man advantage in favor of Oddity, with Redolin still on most of the health. What is Fisher doing? He just walks in on the side. Luna picking up a kill on Vast as well as the... What? Why? How? And where?
When did you get there, Fisher?
Yeah.
He teleports. All right. 2 versus 2 now. But the diffuser has been stolen away by Oddity. They do have the control over it. Luna has a pretty good operator to win this kind of a gunfight. Surely she's not going to try and force a plant down. She needs cover. If this was me, I would just use your stun to try and force this gunfight in close range. Maybe use the Bearing 9. She does have in her pocket. She will whip it out. Maybe she'll go for it. Okay, there's a rotating to CCTV. Wow, okay. Oddity deciding to play further away.
I think she's waiting for Vicious to rotate and have some sort of an angle, but Vicious is very very knowledgeable about a potential run out. He does know now that there is a player, at least one player playing in CCTV room, whereas another one of the Oddity players going on a rotate, and I think Luna is quite knowledgeable. She does try to bait it out, but unfortunately for her, not a single kill. But oh, a nice peek as well, managing to just bait it out. Vidi managing to get the better of. Oh no! The dodges as well coming out, and another shotgun for Vidi. Picks up a kill onto Luna. First round comes out as Oddity picking up a very nice, very nice turnaround, and first round for themselves.
Yeah, really well played for Vinny there, and something you probably wouldn't have seen a lot of behind the scenes was really, really well played by his team. The coordination for the callouts, you could see how much information Vinny had. He knew exactly where the players were based on callouts from his teammates. We could hear constant pings going out onto the two remaining Avant players in lieu of that Maestro camera that was on site. So Oddity fueling that information all into Vinny, and he did so well with it.
Oh yeah, he did perfectly. From managing to return back from CCTV and make a rotation hold back, and just going back and forth as well, and managing to then bring it back and have a very good pacing as well, and just a slight pinch of luck.
Yeah.
Managing to dodge that Hibana push into the small office definitely was, I'd say, luck.
Yeah. And a lot of, oversights, I guess, for Avant. So there was Vinny. No, not Vinny. Who was playing the Maestro the previous round? I'm not quite sure. Redolent. So Redolent, who was playing upstairs behind that, that little half metal railing that you can hide behind near that wall between Armory and Archives, hiding behind that little position just next to the lockers. He was. There was an enemy who just walked into Archives and didn't check that angle, and you really have to be cautious of that angle, because when Redolent peeked up, it was an easy kill for him to find. And Avant, that's what really started, I think, the fall for Avant. Despite having a good entry from Fisho Guy, it just wasn't enough. Ash with Diffuser, that's a recipe for, okay, there you go. He drops it. There you go. Wise move, Fisho.
Right before he will be allowed to shift W closer towards the site, he does need to drop the diffuser, because otherwise that will be the demise of Avant.
If you have a responsibility in your shift W with Ash, it's definitely to drop the diffuser beforehand.
Just shift W responsibly, please.
Yes.
But with that in mind, though, Avant will be attempting to go for the push. 3 members of Oddity currently holding the second floor, and this could potentially be quite a chunky hurdle for Avant to pass through, if they won't be too careful, because right now Oddity members are all split out, so neither of them will be able to be close enough to refrag. And that, oh my goodness.
Oh yes!
Oh yes, there it is. There's a double kill for Todd as well. Flossy and Vicious will be going down just like that without even Todd being punished, but I'm pretty sure he won. Oh, here's another one. You nasty player, you nasty man. Todd picking up a triple kill just like that, and just presenting the opportunity. Avant just falling apart.
Really good play for Todd. Perfect use of that information and the game sense.
Oh, wow, Copper, come on.
Missed shot for Copper here.
Come on,
really
Copper,
needs to find
there it
these
is.
ones. Eventually he does secure. That's a second kill for his team. Still numbers disadvantage in lieu of Todd's very excellent play, but the last two Avant players are pushing together. They're both 3 speeds with decent weapons, but they've got this hatch also to take care of from above, but the hatch not even necessary. Vinny on site with the older 5.56 will find 2 heads of 2 Avant players.
That was, wow, that lined up as well for Vinny. That was very well played overall for Oddity. Round 3 in their favor. Well, sorry, round 2 in their favor, now with us going on round 3. But Customs Inspection and Supply Room will be the tertiary side they will be prompting to go for, which I'm not sure whether it's a good choice. What do you reckon, Dev? Because to me it feels like it can get opened very quickly and very easily.
Yeah, most teams will prefer this site to Tellers, and I think that Tellers often comes down to having a cheeky strategy that the enemy isn't aware of, whereas I think Customs, you can more typically just do the meta thing and make it work based on good plays and little adaptations. I think Oddity have a good chance on this side. a lot of mobility is important, and one of the things that I'm surprised that we're not seeing from Avant is a Nomad on this side. You know, the way that you can go for so many runouts on the defending side, I would have thought that a Nomad is a nice cheap way to replace several Claymores, but I guess if you're bringing the Thermite and the Thatcher, you've got those Claymores, so maybe you don't need the Nomad, but hey, it wouldn't have harmed.
Yeah, definitely that's a good point. That Nomad did manage to slip through the ban phase, so she, I'd say on this map, she will be very potent as well with her air jabs and the Claymores. So yeah, definitely somewhat feels like a missed opportunity, but maybe there's a bigger brain play in effect.
Maybe. I think Avant really do want to have that aggression from Fishoguy, so that the freedom to, you know, push into where he needs to solo and make those plays and make those quick movements. Also the fact that he can take out Maestro cameras with his Ash utility. And aside from that, I think that the rest of the Avant lineup is staple utility that they feel is pretty much a necessity.
Seems like that way, and Godlegion meanwhile, oh no, that is Todd on Jaeger. He will be bailing out. He will be able to just spook Copper just enough for him to take it even slower now onto that push onto the eastern stairs, and will make him quite more conscious about it. But right now, Godlegion and Todd are in the CCTV room where they definitely need to be very careful about the approach, because right now Luna may be the next person contesting the angle and could potentially even get the better of Todd.
Yeah, so far, a bit quiet for Avant. Taking some good control over in Archives, however. The next step would typically be Armory. You need to take Archives to take Armory, to take CCTV, and these steps are happening very gradually for Avant so far. Fishoguy taking a huge amount of damage, but he does in fact deal plenty onto Godlegion.
Yeah, just enough to down him, but I don't think Fishoguy is knowledgeable about the fact that Mute is down, but now he's up. Vast picking up a kill onto Luna, but Vicious will be trading out Vast straight away. Godlegion gets another one. Todd with a team kill as well as kill onto Copper. 2 versus 3 right now, and the Jaeger is still upstairs. Oh, the nice shot. Nicely done by Fisho, making it a 2 versus 2, and now all up to Fisho and Flossie to clutch it out against Redolin and Vinny.
Oh. Interesting decision there for Redolin to go for that aggressive peek. It does deal a little bit of damage, but now that he's been spotted, he will return back to bomb site or near enough. Roaming down currently in that middle hallway. It's a good position to be in on this site. You can roam downstairs and still have an impact onto this bomb site due to the way that it is so very open. And with Avant so low on HP, and they're the ones who have the responsibility to go downstairs and start getting this diffuser down, I do think Oddity do have decisively the advantage.
Yeah, and with only 21 seconds left to go, Fishoguy will be attempting to go for a rotation to see if he can get himself one, as this could be the prime position. Vinny manages to get the better of Fishoguy, who was completely unaware about the positioning of the bandit, and there's another one for Vinny. A very decisive win for Oddity, even after being in a 2 versus 2. They had the positioning, they had the guns, and they have the aim.
They had the information as well.
And the information, yeah,
that
that's
Maestro
correct.
camera, which really helped out, particularly on that first kill.
I was actually thinking that the Maestro camera will be able to score a kill onto Fisho. He was that low on HP as well.
I was actually really worried about Legion Mines.
Or that, yeah, that would be even worse.
Yeah, fortunately didn't walk into any of those. Back up to Armory Lockers and Archives. There wasn't a lot of teeth to Avant's push last time until Fishoguy just repelled into the bomb site and did some good work, but by the end of it, it wasn't enough. And again, Oddity, so much information. These Maestro cameras really helping out, especially in the dire moments of these rounds where Avant do have some of the site control, or a large amount of site control, but Oddity have information onto that. And the thing about Border is so frequently do you have the ability, if the attackers do have control of an area and you have a numbers advantage or a similar numbers, but you have the information, it's not too difficult to retake in many, many scenarios. I really want to see Avant take a more aggressive stance in getting rid of this Evil Eye utility from Maestro, because the information it's been gathering has affected the attack so very much.
Most definitely, and just the way how I'd say the whole roster has been playing it. It's been very well coordinated, and like we talked about before, this definitely feels like a more of a Oddity map rather than Avant with how things been going.
Yeah, I mean, it really is shaping up to look like it. It's funny, really, because Clubhouse was not at all defender-sided. It was completely stark even, and here we are on Border, a map where we've seen some very, very strong attack strategies onto even some of the stronger defensive bomb sites. And 3 rounds in, Oddity have defended all of the sites that they need to in this map.
Meanwhile, Luna will be popping open the doorway into the east hallway as Fisher guys applying some pressure. Copper will be the first to open up onto Gold Legion. So that is the Legion off the chart, and that is the Goo Mines as well, gone very early into the round.
We also have another player very aggressive. I believe that's Todd inside of the break room. Just wants to peek up and spot out the player. The drone goes out and it finds Copper. I mean, well, the Todd finds Copper, and oh no, Todd finds another. He's been on fire tonight, finally traded by Luna, but at what cost? 2 players, and the numbers evened up. Luna, though, very, very low on health, and Vicious all the way outside.
Why is Vicious there?
Well, he's cutting off this rotation from Armory into CCTV, but it's not really something that looks to be making a huge amount of difference in this stage in the round.
Oh, Flossy, no. Come on. Loses his EMP grenade to a to an ADS device. But still, I mean, minute 35 left to go. I'd still say that there's plenty of utility for Avant to advance around, as they have plenty of breaching as well.
Not gonna lie, I'm really disappointed about those 2 wasted EMPs from Flossy. Even the second one, oh, he didn't take out that Frostmat. Because there you have these Evil Eyes. They'll still be gathering information, and the EMPs can disable those. So now he's used all 3. Doesn't have any to do just that. Looks like the attack will shape up around this archive side. I believe that's a Frostmat finding an injure onto Luna. That'll waste a little bit of time, but still 1 minute is plenty to work with for Avant.
Yeah, and Luna manages to gain a little bit of extra
Oh my
health.
god!
Oh, what?
He jumps straight over the bookcase and into the offices. Finds 1 knife and 1 kill with the MPX. Him and Vinny together playing aggressive. Vinny is taken down, but Vicious has 2 more players to find, and the information on this Evil Eye, once again, will be pivotal in pinging out his position. Oddity surely need to win this. That said, Vicious has plenty of time to play with. 2 stun grenades as well. 1 goes out. Just 30 seconds left. He finds the position of 1 player, but it takes so much damage for it. Doesn't land enough shots, and Vast with the quick peek at the end. Oddity win their 4th consecutive defense.
I'm shocked how was Vast allowed that drop down. that was a very ballsy play, and I have to give him props for that as well. But so far as well for Todd, he's been an absolute beast on this map, managing to blast off with the Jaeger 416C. That's been just the grand merry time for him. Even on the Clubhouse at the final several rounds, he was able to pop off quite well.
Yeah, and he really does love playing that Jaeger. Seen it a lot in the past. He just really has been on point hitting his shots tonight, and Avant haven't been in strong positions to trade him out, even when they have attempted to, for example, Fisher guy peeking into break room. Because Todd had the information, he pre-fired that angle, and his aim is just impeccable. He nailed that shot. Luna eventually got a refrag, but like I said at the time, the cost was too high.
Yeah, the cost was definitely way too high, and the damage was already dealt by then. They lost plenty of fragging potential. They lost a fair chunk of utility, even though they still had Thatcher and 2 hard breaches. But those EMP grenades pretty much were used up as well, quite in a slightly wrong manner.
What I really, really want to see is the IQ and Ash utility to get rid of all of the information gathering for Oddity. Imagine if you could disable both Maestro cameras and all the Valkyrie cameras. That would be great, wouldn't it? Well, you've got an IQ who can spot out every single Valkyrie camera, and you've got an Ash who can destroy every single Maestro device. You really should be able to accomplish this. And look, if there are ADSs, as we can see just there from Todd, you've got flashbangs. You can get rid of those ADSs. And Thatcher grenades as well. The IQ really needs to work in conjunction with their teammates to spot out this utility, because I really do think that this utility game has been working wonders for Oddity.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I do have to agree with you on that. The utility has been working just right. With Avant just unable to emphasize off any of the plays. Copper will be the one to be breaching first into the office, but he's just waiting for the confirmation from his teammates whether they're ready to cover him or not. But ready or not, here he goes, as he will be the first one to enter inside the building. Could as well potentially find the frag on one of the Oddity players if they won't be too careful.
This is the problem for me here. Copper, if I'm Copper right now, you really need to make sure there are no Valkyrie cameras in offices. There are so many positions for it. And okay, here's a good entry from Fisho Guy. Control over archives.
I like that pincer that they had. They had the sound cue that they are coming around, and they just came in from the two sides, pushing it simultaneously, and managing to get that frag. That is very good as well. But Vinny and Vast have something to say about that as well, as they're shutting down Vicious and Flossy straight away. A 3v4 just like that, and oh, Maestro is about to have not a good or fun time with those flashbangs. Another C4 onto Fisho Guy, as finally Luna does manage to find the head of Vinny, so a 2 versus 3 is in effect.
Numbers disadvantage once again for Avant. Oddity still very, very comfortable on their defenses. Copper peeking on through this downstairs area. In fact, Luna gets an injure onto God Legion. Redland unfortunately does disconnect, which makes this a 2 versus 2. In fact, a 1 versus 2, I guess you could say, with God Legion on the floor. So just this one player left. Vast managed to merely dodge the peek from Copper, and C4 doesn't find anything. This is really not a good position, and really? It was a breaching charge that downed God Legion?
Yep. It seems so.
Oh no, it was a breaching charge that finished him off, because he was directly beneath that breaching charge and injured. That's very unfortunate. Wow, but also got to say, you know, maybe that wouldn't have happened if Oddity hadn't had that disconnect, but unfortunately it was so late in the round and you can't really account for that.
Unfortunately for Oddity, yeah, that wouldn't have really worked at the end anyways, but
it's one round.
Yeah, that's still Avant. A round is a round for Avant. Yeah, works pretty well. Even if they're able to get 2 rounds at the second half, that's still only 2 rounds of a disadvantage against Oddity. And Avant just proved us before on Clubhouse, they're able to frag, they're able to win rounds. And so this is their prime moment that they need to make a comeback after a crushing defeat. Yeah,
and these rounds on defense have primarily been quite convincing.
Yeah.
Even when the numbers have become, you know, 2v2s, 2v3s, I'd say that Oddity really has had the significant advantage in those scenarios, and in that round it wasn't the case. I really got to say, Oddity always seem to have more information than Avant. Avant really do seem to struggle on information, but they have some good plays.
Oh yeah, and that last round was the showcase of that as well.
Yeah, like Fisho Guy was happy to just vault into archives and take down Todd. Maybe there was a drone there, obviously we didn't see that. It's probably likely there was a drone that assisted that, and Todd was taken out, no potential refrag from Oddity. And then another play, for example, from Fisho Guy, he opens up that wall between archives and armory, which I typically call glass wall. He opened that up with an Ash charge and held the angle with his R4C. That flushed down the Maestro to go downstairs. Little players like this really did help get the ball rolling for Avant, even when they don't always have the information to make things happen.
Where they lack an information, they seem to be attempting to compensate it with the utility, but it just feels that some of that utility was misused on Avant's side. And the last round is essentially the showcase that they can frag it out and kind of compensate now the misuse of the utility with some fragging potential. We saw Luna use up all 3 of her flashbangs, and only after, I believe that was Vinny, who tried to peek her with the Alder, she ended up scoring the kill.
Yeah, and it's funny because I think one of the things that has been making for the difference for Avant, the thing that they do have an advantage and something they do very well, is they take initiative. They're happy to just walk into an area even when they don't have a lot of information and make plays. That's what Fisho Guy did really well, but interestingly, it's what Luna didn't do. She was really lacking initiative, pushing onto that Maestro. She knew for so long that that Maestro was there, but she was too fearful of trying to push up, which is fair enough, because as soon as you're hiding behind half-wall as Maestro, you hear someone sprinting, you just peek up and take them out. So it's a difficult position for Luna to be in. I'm glad she did use those stun grenades, but even after deploying them, she was very cautious of actually pushing forwards and, you know, exposing herself to that position at half wall. She just wanted to take the fight more narrowly, and she was, you know, good shot to her for winning that gunfight. Frankly, it was a bit lucky as well, because if the Maestro decided, all right, I'm just not going to peek while I'm flashed, or while I'm not flashed, then Luna would have been sitting there holding the angle, and then she'd be out of stun grenades, and she'd have to push it without stun grenades.
She would need to kind of brute force it. But yeah, I do have to agree with you. It was a bit shaky, but I still think that Avant have a good chance to bring it back, because the moment Avant are going to go on defense, that's where I feel they're going to be shining.
It's what we would expect, typically. Now, one more round on their attack for Avant, where we could go to Vents again for Oddity, but I feel like we're more likely to see Customs.
Yeah, well, Customs was pretty successful for Oddity, all things considered.
Yeah, and one of the things that I found interesting about Oddity on Customs was, yes, you typically defend Customs. You typically defend CCTV above Customs.
Yeah.
Because of those hatches, exposed positions on site. So you try and maintain control over CCTV as long as possible. And then one good way to clear out CCTV is push from Armory. So, control Armory, and that makes it a bit more difficult. And how do you push into Armory? You come from Archive. So have, you know, a kind of far reach. You know, invest some utility to protect yourself against these exterior areas. And Avant did go through the motions of, okay, we take officers, we take archives, we take Armory, now we take CCTV. It just takes a very long time. And I think if Oddity just do a little bit more or even just the same amount as they're doing right now in terms of delaying that kind of sequential push, Avant will fall apart.
Yeah, definitely. That's a very good point as well. And whereas for Avant, they need to just continue playing. They need playing like they did in the previous round. They need to start gathering much more information. They need to keep those drones alive. They need to keep that information flowing for themselves, because yes, they can frag. Yes, they can use some of the utility. But when you don't have any information, where do you frag or where do you put the utility? It all falls apart.
Yeah, I'd really like to see a lot more information denial from the attack as well, because they bring the utility for it. They bring the Ash charges and the IQ and the Thatcher, but we so rarely actually see these Maestro cams disabled. We so rarely see these Valkyrie cameras taken out. Maybe we're not actually seeing them, but they are happening, because obviously we can't spectate everyone. But I really do feel like, for the most part, Oddity do have a huge amount of information in their advantage.
Oh, yeah.
And if Avant denied some of that, it would really help them out in these attacks. Yes, they just won an attack, but I think that it'll come even more pertinent if they do end up attacking the Customs bomb site.
I do feel that for Copper right now, he shouldn't be very hasty about how he pushes in, because he's an IQ. Get rid of all the Valcams that are around the site.
I don't think Copper should be on IQ.
And well, that one as well. Copper showed an amazing gameplay on Sledge during Clubhouse. Yes, Jaeger was banned out, and yes, he could use the grenades. But still, like,
yeah,
I'd say IQ traded out for a Sledge is a good trade.
Yeah, I'd rather see Copper on a position where he has a bit more freedom than IQ. Yeah. Whereas Fisher Guy historically is, before IQ was meta, Fisher Guy was playing IQ. And I remember being so impressed with how he played it. So I reckon give Fisher Guy IQ. I mean, he's still a 3-speed. He can still go for those quick peaks and get you know, take ground and take out players. He still has a decent gun, but he also is so good at disabling utility with that IQ scanner and the pistol.
Indeed. And for Copper, actually, now that I thought about it, give Copper the Jackal.
Give Copper the Jackal or the Ash.
Todd goes in for the roam. You bring in a Jackal, you just keep on scanning him. You get enough information for the rest of the attackers to blast the Jaeger into oblivion. That's at least one of those two leverages. One
issue is then you don't have much utility to get rid of the Maestro cameras, so I'm still leaning towards an Asher as a fear. But I really do think that it's quite possible that I just want to see Fisher Guy on the IQ. I think that would help a lot more with this information denial, which seems to be really important. It's funny, one round we were spectating Copper for a little bit while he was playing IQ. He was taking the top floor. He pushes in from the exterior officer's balcony. He goes and he peeks. He uses IQ scanner and takes out the default cameras. One in the long hallway and one at the top of east stairs. And then he puts away the IQ scanner and starts entering into offices and using his main rifle. Those two cameras he took out, You don't have to have an IQ scanner to shoot them. They're in the exact same place every single round. You know where they are. You don't have to have the IQ scanner out to find them. Just shoot them with your rifle. And then he puts the IQ scanner away when I would have thought he'd actually need it. When he was checking officers and checking, you know, tellers.
It's rather, I'd say it's not him just being careless about it. It's rather he would be expecting, now that those cameras have gone out, there will be somebody pushing out from Oddity to try to get rid of IQ before she'd done any more damage. And so that way he was trying to bait out the push from Todse, and whereas Fisher Guy was already pushing up with the Ash and was able to get the drop on Jaeger, which is exactly what happened.
Yeah, well, it's still up in the air between these two teams. We're going to go to a short break. We'll be back really, really soon.
Stylish on the outside, savage on the inside. Legion by Lenovo.
We're back, guys. We're ready to get back into Oddity versus Avan. I'm Dev, and this is Cthulhu.
That is me indeed, and we have a very interesting map being border so far played out by Oddity, having what I believe a 3-point lead, and Avan just managed to claim one round for themselves. Sixth round, final round of the first half, and customs inspection, like you predicted before, is definitely going to be in effect. And Vast bringing out a dock, which will be switched over to a pulse, whereas Flossie is on a Thatcher rather than a glass.
Yeah, okay, so 6-pick away from that. Maybe just a bit of a tease saying, hey, look, we've got, you know, you're really going to have to rely on those Maestro cameras, but Thatcher instead, I think it's a good move. Thatcher's really important. Of course, counter that Bandit as much as possible. Also counter the Bandit trick would be nice, but Thatcher alone doesn't typically do that. Finally, we do see the Zephyr and the Ashe, which I'm really happy to see. Personally, all the more the merrier in terms of soft breach to counter these Maestro devices, which was so very pertinent last time in the dire moments of the round. Information gathering, though, for Oddity is now branched out a little bit into a Pulse rather than a Valkyrie, so the IQ not going to counter the positions of the cameras themselves. However, it can discover the Pulse himself.
Yeah, and with the way how Vast has been playing over, he definitely could be losing his life to an IQ scanner sooner or later. Whereas right now, I'd say the big... Oh, that is a cheeky hole. That is a very cheeky hole into the east stairs. But as I was just about to say, the ADS devices are essentially what's going to be stopping the hard breaches and the soft breaches and the explosions to destroy the Evil Eyes.
Yeah. Now taking this top floor will be the first step. Looks to be mostly on the south balcony thus far. Holding this tight angle, hoping to find a player. As I mentioned earlier, previously it was the push all the way from Archives that eventually got them, but Vicious actually does find a kill, so that's a great position. He's actually all the way out on that west side, on that tower, and through that window upstairs, he managed to take out God Legion. A really excellent play. I love that setup from Avant, and you know, it may not have worked the previous time, but I'm really glad it worked out this time.
Yeah, managing to out God Legion this early through the round once again is definitely going to help Avant with the plays. But Flossie picking up another kill into Todd, as well as Copper taking out Vinny. Just like that, a 5 versus 2, as it seems that the momentum has been lost by Oddity, as all up to the Pulse and the Maestro against 5 players of Avant, who have only 1 player tagged up quite substantially.
A lot of work to do for these last 2 intel gatherers. However, Vast will get a free kill onto Fisho Guy. Good start, and perhaps suggesting that there is in fact a Pulse. Well, they'll know now for sure. Redolent really wants to get aggressive here. My goodness, take a look at that. Unfortunately, God Legion does crash, but he's already dead, so that won't have an impact on this round specifically. Redolent, though, he wants to have an impact. He'll need to now because he's got 4 players to find. He can find the Thermite, but now his position revealed by the drone as well. There's a player above trying to find the angle onto him. He has no escape feasible in any position at the moment. He need to rotate all the way to the hole he's looking at currently. He tries to go out through the main door from supply, and Luna takes him out.
Indeed, a very, very well executed push now from Avant, like you said, and just a good turn of events, managing to out the Legion first again, and managing to take out Todd is definitely going to be a good roll and a good go for Avant's scoreline going into the second half.
Yeah, we'll switch up the sides now. Obviously, we do have that play disconnect. We may head to a rehost in a minute, just waiting for admin approval, but this site and operators will likely be locked in. So it's top floor armory lockers, and Avant can start thinking about how they want to defend that. Pretty staple lineup across the board. Some wall denial in the Bandit. Jaeger, of course, is a staple on border, as we've talked about before, and intel gathering, Maestro and Valkyrie, the Legion to top it off. A good mobile operator who also can... there you go. So we are going to head to a rehost. So you get to see us again, and we'll have a chat about that. So really interesting to me that Avant on that top floor, operators at the very least, almost exact same as what Oddity were bringing.
Yeah, and just the way how the round went on before, it was just good execution. They managing to just drone it. Like we talked before, they were lacking the information. They managed to regain their consciousness, I guess, I don't know, and start using the drones, managing to get those frags early on through the round and get that early man advantage. And that's exactly what they needed, because even in a 2 versus 5, Oddity still had their teeth out. and ready to bite.
Yeah, and I mean it was pretty good on that downstairs defense from Oddity. Like there were some good things, but it all started with that pick upstairs from God Legion, onto God Legion rather. And that's the kind of thing where you can play, the attacking player, all the way out inside of spawn with your ACOG, holding an angle into CCTV, just waiting for a player to walk past. And it doesn't always work because you don't always get a chance to, you don't always land the shot for one. You don't always have a player cross that line of sight. But when it does, it really opens up the round. And that's what helped at the very start for Avant. Cascade, that really helped them clear the rest of the roamers up top. And, well, in that 2v5, it was, maybe you'll find a kill or two, but nothing that's going to have a really big impact in the round.
Yeah, especially the way how things been going, it was definitely quite, like, we wouldn't expect to have a win from 2 versus 5, even after what we saw on the final round of Clubhouse.
Yeah.
But, like, what happened on Clubhouse was a miracle.
Yeah.
I'd say, because it was a correlation between how well Todd managed to play his cards and the luck that he didn't have his head blown off by Copper on playing in that memorial room. And in this case, yes, they managed to sneak off 2 kills, 1 kill each, but they didn't have any proper ground. Both of them were cornered outside or inside the house. Inside of the site, and that's pretty much all she wrote at the end. So definitely a good round for Avant on their last attack. So this time onto the second half, they will be going with at least 2 points behind their back. So still a good chunk of road already passed.
Yeah, and I mean now that we have the side switch over, and Oddity will be attacking, I'm actually a little bit worried now for Oddity. Look, yeah, they have the point lead at the moment. Yeah. 4-2 is a nice position to be in going into the second half, but there's a point where you need to keep that momentum rolling, and I do think Avant have that momentum currently on the back of some good plays. And when you have the momentum and you're on defense where you're most comfortable, that's when you'll be striving in your position. And I don't know, Oddity, it's a difficult position to overcome.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a difficult position for Oddity, and as well as the fact that Avant so far showed a good potential for the attack. They have a good potential for the defense, and seeing as Border was played out very well by the defensive side, I'd say that Oddity would need to get back into their mojo, I guess, back again, because that way, if they're going to keep on playing like they did in the past 2 rounds, we're going to be seeing a reverse sweep.
So how do you think these teams shape up? I mean, we had a draw on Clubhouse, and
yeah,
I feel like for a long time, I was convinced Oddity was, you know, the top of the mid pack in the Pro League, and maybe even better than Darksided and taking that, Mind Freak now, and better, you know, taking that 3rd place position. That's where I was convinced that Oddity was at.
Yeah.
And I thought Avant, you know, a good team, but I don't think they were breaking out of that middle pack yet. I think that they were in that middle pack. And so far, obviously, as we head into the second half, it looks like Avant have been doing really well. Draw on the first map. Do these teams really shape up?
Well, they do have a very good, as well, coaching staff. They're managing to seem to be studying quite a lot of all the plays of each one of the teams, and I mean, so far it worked pretty well, all things considered. Whereas for Oddity, it just feels that if you don't have the big ops playing out, and I mean not the ops, the big fragger players playing it out, there's really not a lot of traction that Oddity can get.
Well, they do have the numbers advantage, the round count advantage at the moment, but as I mentioned, Avant won the previous 2 rounds. They do have the momentum, and now they're on the defense, which is the place where you're more likely to feel confident in this current meta. It's really funny to me that we just haven't seen very much Montaigne or Glaz for a while. The only time we've seen Glaz was as a 6th pick away from, and we didn't actually see it played.
Well, yeah, Glaz on this side, I'd say with the current meta, definitely not the best choice, all things considered. And Copper actually sitting on a potential spawn peak spot, but nobody will be even spawning on that side, so he might have to run away sometime very soon. There he goes. But yeah, right now Avant are in a prime position. Vast will need to be pushing very soon, very quickly, but decides to get back onto the repellent and see if he can spot a long shot from there. But I don't know, with him being solo right now left again, I'm confused.
Mind blown, just like that wall maybe, Cthulhu?
Not yet.
No, not yet. Confused, not mind blown. All right, fair enough. Yeah, well, I mean, for this top floor attack, it looks to be mostly a east side take from the officers. No mirror windows on account of it being banned, and no echo drones on account of the Maestro being the preference. See a lot of, once again, rotations in through Fountain. Fountain to CCTV, it's very common these days.
I'd say there's even more rotations than what Oddity were setting up. Like, Oddity just had pretty much stock standard rotations back to the side, whereas this time we're seeing a full roam flexibility from Avant. And a nice shot from Copper as well onto Vast straight away, shutting down the Zofia player. He's gone and done, leaving Redolent and Vinny pondering on how are they going to approach this now.
Good peek for Copper. Fortunately, no refrag for Oddity.
It's been a field day for the Jaeger so far, just in general on both teams.
Yeah, Jaeger's players have really been performing very well. God Legion seems to be on a kind of flank watch, but he hasn't found anything so far. Just missed as one player on his rotate. Redolent wants to clear out this position, but he has to expose himself to so many angles if he wants to. He can't safely thermite this wall while the Jaeger still survives inside a Fountain. He doesn't land even a single shot onto Copper, but meanwhile, the players have been taken out. Finally, an entrance from God Legion. Copper goes down. Long-range support from Vicious. Also, God Legion injured on account of that. It's Redolent to revive his fellow FBI team member. 3 players to find. Now, finally, Fountain has been cleared and this wall can be opened.
Time to ring some ears.
Yeah, with the Redolent now opening up a wall, this could be potentially a new angle that Oddity could use, but right now, Luna is playing with this potentially C4 right behind those archive shells. This could be very dangerous. Luna picks up that nice C4 into Redolent. Now we'll have to God Legion with only 9 seconds left, and Flossie will be able to finish him off at the end. Avant slowly gaining up on Oddity with now only a single point left to go.
Yeah, it's not so much of a lead that Oddity do have anymore. Avant seem very comfortable on their defense, as I had theorized. Have the momentum still flowing. Very comfortable in their gunfights as well. Copper was more than happy to peek out from the Fountain and onto the player attempting to enter into office. And on the side of Oddity, maybe a Hibana would help out. You know, we're trying to open up these walls by getting up nice and close, but a Hibana could do the job without actually exposing yourself to these positions. But no, really a Thermite seems to be insistently picked. For the most part, these operator picks from both sides are incredibly similar. One of the outliers, I would say, is Oddity's Capitao pick, which hasn't seemed to have any effect whatsoever so far.
I'd say for Capitao, rather, to prevent the death of Vinny in that regard, instead of Zofia pushing in through that window, have the Capitao smoke it out, like just shoot the smoke dart onto the wall, and that would obstruct just enough of a vision for Copper to not see where he will be shooting. So yes, there will be still a pre-fire, but that will be able to bait out that pre-fire, whereas then Vast can push in. But that is not the case, unfortunately, as he still ended up dying to that. And yeah, for Oddity, they seem to be just small misplays that allow Avant to just emphasize of them quite severely.
Well, this top floor presence will be certainly felt on this vent hold, and there you go, information being thrown out. Well, I guess you could say means to gain information, and those Valkyrie cameras being thrown outside to the west, as well as Legion mines, which are also a means for information on that balcony on the west side. But mostly, it's the east push for Oddity so far. My god, these teams do almost exactly the same thing, right down to the same IQ, placing a breaching charge on this triple wall of officers. Would love to see just a double check using the IQ scanner to see if there are any Valkyrie cameras in office or nearby. Oh, nice pre-fire. That's Copper going down. He did land one shot into Todd, but the IQ finishes the job.
Indeed, and meanwhile, God Legion will be going down. Zafir just cannot get a single break as Flossie is back onto roaming around the CCTV/break area, where he's somewhat quartered, but Vaz decides to just fully fall back, which feels quite odd.
Yeah, got to be careful inside of offices. There was a player jumping on the bookshelf earlier. Need to be cautious of that angle. Perhaps some of the presence from that AC balcony on the north side would assist in taking control of Archives, but officers really not working with two players gone down. Fisher Guy and Flossie together doing great work. You really can't just try to push inside a fountain into Archives. I mean, you have a thermite, you could open up this exterior wall, but no, that's not happening. Now Vinny, his position revealed by the League Goo mine, and this is just really not looking so great. All of Oddity falling apart one by one. It's a 1 versus 4 for Vinny. Capitao, you know, decent weapon, not amazing weapon, not the kind of weapon I would expect him to clutch with. Vinny's been playing pretty well. He's the newest addition to the roster, but this looks like Avant second open and shut round on defense.
And now we are on a draw though, 4-4, with Avant winning 4 rounds in a row.
Yeah, that's right. This has been a clean sweep so far. Oddity had a really good start to the match with 4 of their own defensive rounds. Now Avant won 2 of their attacks, 2 defenses. That's 4-4, 0-4, so 4-0 and then 0-4.
Yeah,
I feel like, I mean, this feels like an Avant reverse sweep. And I don't know if the train's going to stop at any station.
Yeah, I don't think that there will be any stops whatsoever. So far, it just seems that Oddity don't have any kind of potential, as Tachanka will be the one to be baited out. But Copper, it's all over. Come on. Come on, Luna. But meanwhile, Vinny will be swapping over from a Ying to a Sledge. Interestingly enough, but...
Yeah, but interesting hiding the... we see 2 very different kinds of uses for a 6-pick here. We see the Tachanka 6-picked onto the Frost. Obviously, you know, the Tachanka was obviously a 6-pick, but, you know, Oddity wouldn't have known what to. So Avant are trying to hide what they're 6-picking to, which in this case is a Frost, which operates more effectively when the enemy don't know you have one. Whereas in contrast, Oddity weren't trying to hide the Sledge necessarily. They were just trying to tease a Ying and make Avant think, oh, we've got a Ying, we have to play differently now. So I do like that. You know, you can see 2 very different kind of uses for the same 6-pick feature.
Yeah, I definitely will have to agree with you. The baits, the mind games, every time that we see from the 6-pick happening, definitely are quite worthy of just mentioning at the very least. But curious how Oddity will approach this, because so far it seems like a very stock standard top-down kind of clear out.
For the defense, is there no pressure inside of CC?
I don't think there is, at least yet.
That's really uncommon.
It is. It is indeed, and not a single bit of reinforcement apart from the hatch will be used. And apart from that, really, Oddity will just gain a free entry. Although I don't think that they are knowledgeable about that free entry just yet. They're very cautious.
They've been droning out the situation a little bit. It looks like Avant will be playing a downstairs roam primarily, with some information gathering in the hands of Pulse's IQ scanner. Fisher Guy wants to go for this run out. In fact, he doesn't find anything, reveals his position by shooting, but not by being detected. So he can now play downstairs, which of course is where a Pulse may prosper. Now these holes to the floor can be opened, and Todd can start disabling these bandit batteries and preventing the bandit trick, allowing Redolent to open up detention.
That is a good start right now for Oddity to be able to pop open the wall to have that extra angle, but right now they need to start opening up even more holes from above to be able to pincer out some of the defenders, which, if done right, they will have a massive upper hand against the defense. Thermite charge, second one will be fully successful to breach. won't be contested or denied in any way or shape. Whereas right now, the objective for Vast is to try to find that pesky bandit player in face of Luna, who is currently been working pretty well and will be able to return back onto Vinny though, with Redolin finally picking up a kill onto Copper. Luna continuing her reign against Redolin, will be shutting him down as well. Now with 3 versus 4. Todd and God Legion picking up a nice kill. Nice shots. Vast will be picking up, finally shutting down Luna, and at the end Vast picking up a kill onto Flossie. Oddity seems to have regained back their mojo and managing to make it 5 on 4.
Really a big step up for Vast at the end of that round. Great job from him, but across the board, all of the Oddity team members working together to dismantle the Avant defense. Worked very well finding those roamers one by one, executing onto the bomb site as well. No need for a plant, wasn't even on the agenda.
That is true, but at the same time, it definitely felt like a misplay from Avant as well. Not contesting in any shape or form the upstairs definitely feels like it hurt him.
It's a huge risk.
Substantially, yeah.
And there's a reason why it's not meta to just sacrifice that top floor, and Oddity has shown us why. Exact same 6 pick coming out from the attacking side. From the defensive side, they go for a 200 IQ 6 pick. Maestro to Maestro.
Yeah, the absolute epic plays.
The ultimate 6 pick strategy.
Ultimate 6 pick, that's correct. But this time we are coming back to Armory and Archives, which has been quite a successful site for Avant to pull off.
Oh, Vicious, come on, man.
Like, that vault spot has been there for a while. Come on,
he hasn't been training his quads. That's a serious issue, mate.
Almost there, man.
Oh,
there we go. We made it. We made it at the end. And
the little Maestro that could.
A little Maestro that could. That's a good one. That's a good one. But interestingly enough, Luna is now back onto Valkyrie. So she's been playing before a Bandit, now a Valkyrie. So she definitely will be flexing some of her just roam potential and some more fragging, with now Valkyrie cameras assisting her in those points where she needs them to be.
God Legion as well on the Ash. He's had some good rounds, but overall a bit mixed. Oddity are, of course, 1 round away from match point, which I guess you could call this guaranteed draw point. I like to, when it's 5-5, I like to call it breakaway point, because it's the round where one team will guarantee that they cannot lose. They will either draw or win. We're not quite there yet, but for Oddity it is breakaway point. They win this and they guarantee to get at least 1 point on the board, which would be nice because they only got 1 earlier today. Don't have those 3 in the pocket that they would have liked. Certainly the goal here for Oddity is to close out the match with the 3 points and leapfrog the 2 teams directly above them. Avant, who are their opponents in this match, and Mindfreak, who have been a long arch nemesis of Oddity.
Indeed, and Oddity showed them previously on the other seasons a very good performance as well. Fortunately, Vinny unable to land the grenade, but nonetheless, a nice pickup on to Fisher Guy by Vast. Will be securing the kill. Luna will be forced now to rotate over back to the side, and just like, C4 coming out, but a nice dodge from Redolin as he did see that flying in. If that C4 exploded slightly earlier, that would have been it.
I'm actually really surprised that Luna managed to get at it all, and that's both thermite charges deployed and detonated successfully. Redolin doing good work, and now Flossie taken down as well inside of the B site. But the exposure of that open wall inside of Fountain going towards the CCTV area really puts a thorn in the side of Oddity, who just want to focus on the site, and they still have to deal with that position. Some good positions though, and there you go, a great bait. Todd absorbing all the attention. Vinny punishes Luna, his second grenade much more successful than his first. Oddity looks like they might have a perfect opportunity to start taking this bomb site, and it looks to be that's the play. Vicious, the last man standing. No potential to deny this plant. Surely the Alder's pretty good, but God Legion's clearly better. That's not GG, Flossie.
Flossie, come on.
It's first to 7 these days.
Flossie
is such a rookie, man. Does he even know the rules?
I don't think he does, but they just tell him, just frag away.
Todd. Oh, man. Todd's ready to take the dub.
Yeah, Todd is all ready. He's all all good and ready and set up.
Please don't leave, Flossie. Please don't.
But Armory Lockers and Archives will be the choice for potentially the last round for Avant, as they showed some good prowess on the Armory Lockers and Archives, but the last round was not very well executed, all things considered, and it wasn't even the fact how, like, that the Avant made some mistakes. It's just how well Oddity just executed. Yes, Vinny missed his first grenade, but the second one managed to work out with the bait quite well, and just...
Yeah, one of the things I really think Avant could have done better, though, was the bandit trick. I'm not sure which player it was. Flossie, I believe, playing bandit.
Fisher
Flossie, Copper, maybe, I don't know. It was one of the players. With the playing bandit, he was so close to bandit tricking that Archives wall, which would have made so much difference, but he was slightly too far away and clearly not focused enough that he didn't hear the deploy of the thermite charge, and as a result, Oddity were able to open up not only the wall into Fountain to clear Luna out of there, but also open themselves an avenue onto Archives itself.
Most definitely, and just like that, like, Oddity already guaranteeing themselves at least a single point, so right now for Avant, it is in their interest to get back at Oddity and just at least grab a single point, because that should be enough for Avant to push them over Mindfreak.
Yep, this is, yeah, I'm pretty sure. This is actually, though, the position we were in last map, except in the reverse. Avant was actually in a 6-4 and Oddity climbed back with 2 rounds. And of course, we all know how frustrating it was for Avant to let that victory slip away when they were so very close to a full victory on that map. Will we see the same thing here, or will Oddity pull through? Honestly, they are looking very comfortable and confident at the moment. For Avant, it was actually overconfidence that caused them that draw instead of the win. I don't think the Oddity will make the same mistake, but maybe they'll make a different one.
Yeah, they were prone to a fair few
I
issues.
love this. Okay, sorry, I'm a massive nerd, as you guys know, so that is just super cool. That grenade to take out that the bandit batteries and nade out any... Oh my god, Vinny! That was nasty! Mate, destroying that C4 mid-air, Copper being completely shut down, and yes, there was one run out from Fisher onto Vast, but otherwise, Oddity has done incredibly well. So
I got so excited about that C4.
Did you like choke on your own tongue or something?
Yes.
Oh man, you should have seen him, the reaction from Cthulhu when that C4 came through. Light flashing before his eyes, and well, Oddity looked to be in a, they do have the numbers down, but Todd's in a good position. It'll come down to who can make some good plays. There you go, Todd finding one. Vicious Vicious is currently the best player on Oddity, taking down Flossie. 3 versus 3 position now.
Yeah, very unfortunate situation for Vicious getting a team kill once again, but this would allow Redolin actually to potentially go in.
Wait, that's an unreinforced wall. That could be C4'd right now.
Yeah, that could also be a flying C4 coming in through there, but oh, Redolin needs to be very careful if he wants to acquire the bread at that position, because right now it is still a 3v3, 45 seconds to go, and there's still utility for both teams to go with. Todd repelled over, he could catch, just misses the run out, but at the same time this is a good go for him. Copper though, with a good go for himself, will be taking out Redolin, so that is the foothold, and the Fountain will be forfeited. And another run out, that's a nice shot. Luna will be taking care of Todd, and it's all up to Vinny to try to clutch this up and get the big dub for Oddity.
20 seconds left, but a great operator in this position. The SMG-11 in close quarters. Can't find the frag. Only 12 bullets left in the L85, and that's not enough. Copper takes him down, and Avant shy away from a defeat. Just close enough, and head themselves onto the final point of this entire map.
Yeah, match point overall of 5-6 being the scoreline. Avant potentially looking to bring it back to yet another draw, which would be quite comfortable for them, because right now if Oddity managed to bring it back and win the map, Oddity will be able to skyrocket right above Avant, and that is not what they want right now.
Yeah. And look, the draw is looking really likely at the moment, with Avant having already won the vent site and now returning to it. Oddity haven't had any success attacking this site as of yet, and I haven't seen that many mid-game adaptations, you know, between rounds. From Oddity, they haven't, you know, changed things drastically between rounds, whereas Avant on the flip side, just in that previous defense on the Armory, you know, they had lost an Armory defense, so they completely changed their strategy. They reinforced the triple wall, that's the far east side of offices. They sacrificed from some reinforcers from elsewhere, and they play a little bit differently. And Fisho Guy decides to get very aggressive on runouts. It worked out for Avant in the end. It was close, but in the end it did work out.
Well, for Oddity, the reason why I reckon they went for the same approach is they would have probably expected that Avant would have a similar approach, or a single approach in general, and then would go for just the same defensive approach. So it kind of understandable for Oddity, but at the same time, a very unlucky case of events for themselves, and a very lucky one for Avant being able to be this aggressive.
And a lot of information to enable that aggression for Avant this round with those Valkyrie cameras, the pulse scanner as well.
Oh
Copper
boy.
finding a spawn peek onto Todd. That's the player from Oddity who really has been showing up, taken out by the player for Avant, who tends to be showing up most of the time. Looks like we will indeed be seeing a draw more and more likely by the minute.
Indeed, and Vinny swapping over to a Ying this time, which could throw a curveball in this whole matchup, as Avant wouldn't be expecting, as we saw 2 6 picks off Ying to a sledge. So this time
Vinny,
could work. Vinny, come on, you can nail the shots. It's a static target.
Just take an extra 300 milliseconds, you'll make it work. Copper picking up his second kill of this round. It's really looking grim for Oddity, and I don't want to say that so early because we're only 55 seconds into this first round. But everyone from Oddity is just stalling out. Vast trying to desperately find a pick. This top floor pressure from Avant seems to be working out so well.
Yeah, definitely, and just Copper in general has been popping off on so many occasions, both during the Clubhouse and Border. So at this very moment, it's definitely been a very beneficial one. The breaching charge will be coming off, but Vast is currently holding a very tight angle as well into the archives. Is it archives?
Yeah, he's watching into archives, just expecting that due to the thermite, someone will get aggressive and run into offices, but it hasn't happened as of yet, and it doesn't look like it will. In fact, the entire of Avant have decided, look guys, last time we missed our chance to win a map because we got too aggressive. Now let's just completely default back to site. So it's a 5-man site pressure, but Oddity have a decent amount of time to make it work. Still a little bit of utility as well, especially this Ying Candelas from Vinny. That's a long angle, and Vinny spots out just enough pixels to know he needs to keep firing, and Vast does the rest of the work. That's a Ying charge over the top, but Fisher Guy takes down Redl, and Vinny may take this as an advantage to peek on into the bomb site, but he's taken down just Vast, the captain of Oddity, to guarantee his team 3 points to leapfrog the 2 teams, Avant and Mindfreak, above them in the Pro League, but it's not looking possible. Avant in such a good position to tie up this second map.
Definitely looking like they are ready for that tie, but Oddity 30 seconds away. Vast, last man standing, like you said, L85 in the hands and ready to potentially pop off, but we already saw a miracle. Can we see another one from Oddity from a different player? But no, that miracle won't be happening, as Avant will be able to draw it out. 2 points for both teams through this Playday, and a very well played map overall, all things considered. First we saw 2 nearly big reverse sweeps, 4-0 at the start, and then another 4 rounds from Avant to get back at Oddity. So definitely a good performance overall.
And 4 defense rounds apiece for these teams leads us to a 6-6 draw. It was neck and neck. It looked at the start like Oddity was running away with it, as you mentioned. It was 4 straight rounds of defense for Oddity, but then Avant replied in turn with 2 rounds on attack and then 2 rounds on defense. So that's 4 rounds, 4, and then it was back and forth after that.
Oh yeah.
And to me, the way I see it, if Oddity was going to win that map, it had happened in the second last round, in the 11th round, the one defending up top that eventually went to Avant. But no, that wasn't the case to be. And Avant did close out that round, and then they were on a point where they're defending a event site where they're most likely to win, and they also had a bit of confidence along with it on the back of the round they'd previously won. That helped them get those spawn peaks and do everything else they needed to close out the game.
That drop down was absolutely phenomenal, by the way.
Drop bears are real, guys.
Yeah. But, yeah, I do have to agree with you. Just very well played out by both teams. I'd say even more of a feels bad for Oddity on border. They started off so well and so well prepared, and then proceeding to lose the bank and the 4-point advantage. Definitely would be a feels bad for them.
But that said, it's not as big as it feels bad as Avant forcing a draw on the map where they really should have won it. So
that as well,
I mean, as much as Oddity might be kicking themselves, I think Avant really have to say they couldn't have accepted a loss on this map, because they essentially threw away a loss on Clubhouse. In the 4 versus 1 that they lost on match point. So I think that Avant they won't be happy after today, Avant, because of how close they were, but I think they'll be satisfied. And Oddity, I think, won't be. I don't think Oddity will be happy or satisfied, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think this is the best case scenario for Oddity. Yes, maybe
they needed
on a Clubhouse.
They needed at least 3 points.
Yeah, but they
6.
did need.
I think coming in today, I think Oddity were hoping and expecting to take 2 wins.
Yeah, I definitely would think that they did expect as well to get those 2 wins to propel themselves very far in through the leaderboard, because this was their prime moment. But unfortunately for them, very fortunate for Avant, that did not happen. Avant still higher than Oddity on the leaderboard, and managing to get past, I believe, Mindfreak even.
Yeah, I think they might now be just 1 point ahead,
Yeah.
which is not. I wouldn't have expected Avant to be that high in the Pro League roster this season, but that might be where it is. So anyway, talking about these maps now that these teams have been playing, Clubhouse was a 6-6 up top, and then we just played Border 6-6. If you're one of these teams now going forward, how do you feel? How confident do you feel on these maps? I mean, is Clubhouse really as great a map for Avant? You're shaking your head.
No, I definitely say that neither of those maps were confident for both of the teams, and just in general it just felt shaky. Say Avant will be versing Fnatic or Orgless, they're gonna get absolutely bulldozed on those 2 maps.
And so that's really funny. 2 weeks in a row, Oddity have had 2 draws.
Yeah.
Last week it was to Fnatic, and this week it was to Avant. I mean, you're talking about really, I mean, I think it's fair to say different calibers of teams here. Fnatic, top 8 in the world at the Invitational. Avant, only just broken into for the very first time, I believe, the top 3 or top 4 or top 3.
Yeah.
In the ANZ Pro League. You're talking about really different calibers of teams, and Oddity gets the same score against both of them.
It feels to me rather that it's an issue with an Oddity that they are unable to close it out, because they gain a very good advantage over the teams, and then proceed to either being unable to adapt, or there's definitely something that is going on. They're getting into that very odd mentality. It's like, yeah, we got the advantage, we can now play a different strat, we can now experiment. Whereas this is the prime moment for you to go get the bread, just continue playing as sweaty as you can humanly be, and just win it out. You don't need to toy with your prey. That's that level of finesse. You just leave that to Orgless or Fnatic. Right now, for the team size of Oddity or Avant, you sweat it out, you play it out, and that's it. You close it out. That's it. And that mentality is very dangerous once you get into, yeah, we got the point advantage. Yeah, we need only 1 more round. That's when you start losing.
And it's really deceptive, I think. A lot of teams, when in the old system where you played attack, defense, then a disparity of score usually meant that team who was in the lead was like doing much better than their opponent. But here, we had 4-0 to Oddity, but that doesn't actually mean that Oddity is doing that much better. Because the more rounds that you play, the more rounds that you lose, the more likely you're going to win one, because you're going to figure out what the enemy is doing and then counter it, which then happened somewhat for Avant. And then on top of that, Avant then flipped onto the more advantageous side by playing defense, which also gave them more rounds. So what may have looked like a really strong lead for Oddity, actually maybe that wasn't an indication of how the rest of the map would go.
Could definitely be that case, but overall, a very well played map, by both teams. Definitely would say that Oddity wouldn't be very satisfied with the scoreline. I'd say Avant will be definitely very satisfied,
Yeah,
all things considered.
Well, let's have a look at where Avant are on the standings right now, because I think that puts this into the context at the moment. They are currently tied in points with Mindfreak, but the round differential is not in their favor, so they have broken top 4, but not yet top 3. That is, that's a bit heartbreaking for Avant, but I think even more heartbreaking for Oddity, who are now, you can really call them, that's the bottom end of the Pro League.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it's unfortunate for Oddity, all things considered. But, I mean, points-wise, they still only 1 point away from getting it. So if they are managing to score off couple more points for themselves,
yeah, who knows, they could.
Yeah.
See, even that's the thing here, even one win for Oddity jumps them ahead of both Avant and Mindfreak, but they're a team who currently has 6 draws. They don't seem to be able to close out these wins at all. And now Avant, the story for them, you know, they've had a lot of losses, but they've also had a decent number of wins, and I think that's a big thing to point out for Avant. They haven't had a ton of draws, and you know, they have some of the most losses out of any of the teams here, but they've also managed to win against very strong teams such as August, which does rack up those points pretty fast. And they're resting at the moment in the dead set middle of the Pro League standings, if you don't mind my pun.
And actually only just now
you
struck
only just
me
realized?
I only just realized
because
that.
For those of you who don't know, Avant was called Dead Set about a year and a half ago, and then they changed the name to X Dead Set, and I'm a bit of an old fogey, but anyway.
Yeah, that's a blast from the past as well. But yeah, I mean, so far it's shaping up pretty well, and overall the whole season 9 so far of ANZ Pro League has been just the one big wild card.
The middle is really, really competitive with each other.
Yeah.
The top 2 teams, Avant and Fnatic, have been doing really well.
August and Fnatic.
Sorry, what did I say? Avant.
Avant and Fnatic.
August and Fnatic, not Avant and Fnatic. August and Fnatic have really been doing really well, but you know, had some disappointing performances from both teams. You know, August lost to Avant, and Fnatic drew 2 maps with Oddity. So I think we would have expected better performances from those guys in some respects, but yet they are so far ahead of the rest. And then we've got that middle of the pack, Oddity, Avant, and Mindfreak, which, you know, all it takes is 1 win for one of those teams to skyrocket ahead of the other 2. And
exactly.
Then you've got Ex Nihilo and TPD at the bottom, who are still struggling a little bit, and will have to fight over those relegation spots potentially in the final days of the Pro League.
Well, it's mainly just TBD being kind of a bit shaky. Only a single win and 2 draws, and the rest was just losses, which definitely isn't a good showcase for them. But like I said before, the leaderboard standings do not indicate how well those teams, those players play in TBD, because they have a good understanding of how to play. They're not bad players by any margin, but they are lacking on either communication or group execution, and we saw them play for solo plays rather than team plays. And that's exactly what met their demise yesterday versus, I believe, Orglis.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, that's Oddity and Avant for you guys. 2 draws again. So very many draws, but that's all from us in the Pro League for tonight. Thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you next time. Followed up by a flashbang. This is a good play for Todd, but oh!